Mysterious murder and snowy cream.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast. On Saturday, the 21st of August, 2021. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Unnecessary intro sync.
And Robert Kemp.
Yeah, we don't really need the
No, because we're all in the same room.
Does anyone really need snowy cream?
I mean, when does one need snow? I guess when you're skiing. So
Could you
you're praying for snow, but snowy cream.
could you freeze cream into like snowflakes? Like with the fat part of it prevent it from forming snow, essentially?
Yeah.
You just end up with slush or like it's ice cream, I guess. That's what I'm talking about.
Creamy ice cream, don't they? But
Creamy cream ice cream.
With cream.
creamy cream ice cream with cream. Yeah, but the with cream part of that isn't like snowified, is it? It's the creamy cream ice cream that's like the frozen-y stuff.
Yeah.
Snowified.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess ice cream, I don't know, it's like could a snowflake form if the water had too much stuff that wasn't water in it is the question, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because that's like, I was about to say that's what salt does, but that's not what salt does. Salt just lowers the melting point.
Yeah.
Or
but doesn't a snowflake form on some kind of nucleating, like dust particle or something, somewhere high up where it's super
and then it's
cold.
just water outwards from that.
From there, yeah.
So probably if there's anything in the water, you don't get snow. Probably.
Snowflakes.
Well, yeah.
Why don't flakes do 3D? Is that a thing? Or
It's to do with the structure, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just the shape of the water atom. Because the water atom is essentially 2D. A molecule, not atom. Because it's the two hydrogens and the oxygen are just in a straight line, conveniently.
Yeah, so when they hook together. But then you can get ice cubes, obviously 3D, right? But I guess they're forced to, they don't naturally form into...
Yeah, well, because it was water when it started, whereas snowflakes are essentially formed out of gas, more or less.
Right.
Water vapour that then condenses onto the nucleation and then forms the crystal structure.
Whereas salt, conversely, actually does form cubic, like crystal lattice, right?
I mean, there's other shapes of ice, if you want to get into all the different types of ice.
Yeah, what kind of ice could I have?
I don't actually know about any of... I don't remember the specifics of any of, like, the numbered versions of ice. Like,
they number them?
Yeah. Because of the different it's all like, you know, ridiculous high pressure, high stuff that forms inside Jupiter or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like Ice 9.
Right, okay.
You should don't like have a delta variant of ice.
I think you can get at least one of the other kinds on Earth in like Earth conditions.
But presumably you can make Jupiter Ice 9 in a lab somehow.
Yeah, that's how they know about it.
But can you make it from cream and therefore have like Ice Cream 9?
What if you creamed the ice?
Shaped ice cream. Is that what this effectively is? It would be like weird structural ice cream.
Yeah. Exactly.
But you wouldn't be able to eat it because as soon as you expose it to non-Jupiter-like pressures, it was just...
it would no longer... It would become boring terrestrial ice cream.
It would probably instantly evaporate, presumably, because the temperature is presumably way higher because of the pressure.
So does that mean like regular ice is just ice 1?
Yeah, basically.
Right.
And presumably you can make ice 1 from like heavy water, right, which is a different isotope.
I think there might be some difference in heavy water ice. I don't know. I don't think it's the same as the numbered ice, as those are all just for regular water.
Yeah.
Is heavy water like the same density?
No,
as well. I think or is it actually denser?
I don't know about density. Because that's a different interaction, isn't it? That's not just the weight of the molecules that has much to do with density.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like
it's slightly heavier to start with, which theoretically would make it less dense if it occupied the same volume. But
I guess I'm like, is heavy water the right name for it?
No, of course not. It's a typical science naming thing where someone just called it that at some point, and that's what everyone calls it now. Yeah. I mean, technically it's right. It's the heavy isotopes of hydrogen.
Yeah. Used to make water. Yeah.
But so it is heavier than regular water, but that's not really necessarily got anything to do with its density. I would guess it's probably very close to the same density, because the only thing that should affect that would be the electrons on the outer edges of the molecule, which it's the same number of, even if it's heavy.
Is it safe to put in ice cream, though?
No.
No.
I hear if you just get a glass of heavy water and drink it, it's probably bad for you.
It's very bad. What, just because it's radioactive?
No, it's not radioactive. It's just like all the normal chemical processes don't work quite the same way as with regular water.
Oh, really?
Don't mess with... Yeah.
Man, that's a properly sneaky poison, though.
Well, I don't think it would necessarily kill you, like, instantly. It's not, like, incredibly deadly. It would probably just make you unwell.
No, but I mean, like, you just... What if you, like, could slip someone, like, change their water supply?
For, like, however many days it would take.
Yeah.
With this incredibly expensive and rare material.
Super rare material.
You just change it back and there's no trace.
Except there is, because there's heavy water all over the place in the pipes and everything.
And somehow you would have had to, like, intercept their actual, like, water pipes or whatever to change it completely over to a heavy water supply.
Well, you could do it.
But what if they were, like...
determined.
What if they were, like, the type of person that used, like, brittle water filters?
I don't think you can have a water filter that changes regular water into heavy water. That would be very helpful in other places.
But could you have a filter that would filter out heavy water from regular? You'd need a centrifuge.
You'd have, like, you'd put the brittle water filter on the table, and then about 12 months later, you'd have a glass of water.
Yeah.
Like, it would be kind of noticeable.
You could use a salad spinner to separate the heavy water to the side of the salad spinner and keep the ordinary water in the middle.
Well aged. This is aged water. It's a vintage. Like a fine wine.
Yeah.
You just have to market it right. And then you can kill anyone you want.
Just use the old polonium, that's a trick.
Or any other various poisons that are much easier to get hold of than that.
Convenient poisons.
This is a podcast about video games.
Maybe.
Not about poison.
Depends
on how much we actually want to talk about video games this week. On this 3 weeks, even. Somehow, even in 3 weeks, we might not have enough to talk about.
Well, we shall see.
Yeah, it's not a strong news week, but it's been 3 weeks, so surely we have games.
Do we, though?
Games!
So what has been going on in video game news?
Nothing.
Oh, we'll go straight to news, are we?
Wow.
Exciting.
Well, we just had the random section.
Yeah,
were you not paying attention for the last, 15 minutes where we had a real bullshit conversation about theoretical science that we don't actually know?
The fact that it was only 7 minutes is unusual, right? Normally it's like 45.
I guess. Sometimes. The news is normally longer.
I mean, we could talk about that Suicide Squad
the film.
Apparently you can't talk about that Suicide Squad.
No.
Okay, let's break out the film review. Rob's film review.
It's
14 minutes.
It's surprisingly all right.
Yeah,
it was a decent, fun time,
isn't it? Not that big a surprise because it's
James Gunn.
The James Gunn.
Yeah.
Who I guess got fired from Marvel because of some tweets he made ages ago, and
like
then got
10 or
reinstated
20 years ago. Yeah.
And in between, he sort of made
He
this.
buggered off and made this for DC instead.
He rebooted Suicide Squad within about 2 years.
I mean, kinda. I guess. I mean, it's supposed to be a follow-on, but it's sort of not really. They kind of step away from that pretty quick. Other than Harley Quinn's about. That's kind of
the one thing that everyone loves from Suicide Squad, is
and that's probably
just
because and that's probably literally just because A, it's Harley Quinn, and B, it's Margot Robbie.
It's Margot Robbie, yeah.
It's probably, I don't know. It feels like her character's quite different here as well.
She changes every time.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I would say it's excessively long. Is my main criticism.
Yeah,
and it is unbelievably stupid. But that's fine.
Yeah, what you want. Yeah,
like the dumbness of it and the absurdity of it is totally okay, but it is overstuffed. It is far too long, and it didn't help that I went into it with the classic cinema problem of I cannot pause this to pee.
How come?
Because it's in the cinema.
Oh, you were actually.
I was at the cinema.
Wow, the cinema is back.
The cinema is back.
And you forgot what it's like not to be able to pause.
Yeah, you forgot to go to you have to pee before.
It was about time to discover that the film's like 2 hours long, like or more even.
I would hope more if you're worried about peeing. You can't hold your pee for 2 hours.
It depends on the circumstance, right? Yeah.
If you've got a jumbo big gulp.
Well, you don't buy a stupid cinema drink. That's point number one.
I did have a cinema drink.
There you go.
But it wasn't a coffee, right? So it's like it wasn't like
Coffee.
it wasn't like a full. It wasn't. Well, they have a Starbucks at Cineworld, right?
Right.
So I have wandered into films with a frappuccino.
Okay, I guess.
But no, this was just standard ass Pepsi Max.
It's probably worse.
It's definitely a diuretic, isn't it?
The syrup-based Cokes / Pepsis are probably worse than coffee for making you pee, I would bet.
Yeah, I don't know.
What is it in coffee that is it diuretic? Is it caffeine itself?
I don't know if it's caffeine itself. No, but maybe it is. I'm not sure.
Because then it's like the more caffeinated your soda is, presumably the more. I'm sure Pepsi Max has plenty of caffeine.
I think they have I'm not sure Pepsi has a lot in it. I think Coke has more.
I would have guessed it was all of the other chemicals.
Yeah.
In syrup-based.
Full of aspartame.
Yeah.
Because, that's how they get around, do the sugar-free thing, right? They have to aspartame the shit out of it.
Yeah. All those sugar substitutes, they definitely have other effects.
I mean, that's what it always says on, like, chewing gum or whatever. Eat too much of this and it's bad times for your various orifices.
That would be a great one. Eat too much of this. You're not even supposed to eat it in the first place. It's chewing gum, but eat too much of this and it's bad times for your various ...
Oh, man.
orifices.
Oh, I mean, that would make me want to eat it to some degree. Like, just be like, okay, this is an orifice test. And I'm already a little unstable at the best of times at the moment, so it's just...
I'm not interested in testing my orifices in that
double
fashion.
risk. Well, how would you like to test orifices?
No,
Oh boy, it's all right. It's all right. It's just far too long. It's a sort of standard problem I have with a lot of modern big films. I guess it's just like condense it. You can edit this. I know there's definitely a good few scenes that are completely unnecessary, and it's like, they were fun, but cut them out. They wouldn't be missed.
I hear Starro is in it.
Starro? Oh, right, yes. I mean, that's kind of... I guess it's spoiler territory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you know who Starro is.
Yeah. But that's kind of the mad... It's just like, you're just like, what? Sorry, what?
Yeah.
Kind of moment. Sort of the late game reveal. Anyway. Films. I saw that and I got around to seeing Baby Driver finally.
Oh, had you not seen it?
I had not seen it, no.
Oh, right.
It's decent. If you can get past the whole Kevin Spacey thing.
Yeah, I can't watch that again now, unfortunately. I saw it in the cinema, I think. And I don't think I was that into it, given its Edgar Wright at the time. But maybe I should have given it another chance, but it's too late now, because it's got Kevin Spacey being creepy. And yeah.
It's got all the hallmarks of being an Edgar Wright film, though. It's
yeah, I know. That's what surprised me. I remember thinking John Hamm was good.
Oh yeah, hamming it up.
Yeah, he doesn't normally, but in that he was kind of hamming it up a little bit.
Yeah, well, that was fun. I liked his little remixes. Was he slow? Was he slow? No. I was probably going to do it for my film minute.
What's in your latest film viewing, Zach?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I can't even remember the last film that I actually watched.
That you watched. Must have been something around here, right? Or...
Well, yeah, potentially. Or not here.
No,
Rob's house.
Yeah, because we've been watching mostly F1 and The Watch and...
Well, sure, but we don't normally watch films anyway.
No. Very rarely. It's probably something stupid anyway.
I don't know, though.
Do you have a review of The Big Lebowski?
Insanity. Insanity incarnate. I was getting sort of Bad Lieutenant vibes after a while. It's just like, why is this happening now? Okay. It does all interweave in some way, but it's like a lot of, I guess like a lot of Coen plots. It's like they end up sort of in in the exact same place they started. Kinda.
Yeah, kind of.
It's just like, and nothing really happened. It's basically like every Coen film ever.
Yeah, I suppose they don't like the arcs where people change forever as a character or whatever.
No.
Yeah.
People just are.
People be.
I watched an episode of the original Avengers because it just happened to be on telly at one point during my week off, and I got kind of drawn into it.
Cartoon?
No.
You mean the actual 60s?
Oh,
the
the
Avengers.
Avengers.
Yeah, not the Marvel's Avengers.
Which one? From the 60s?
From the 60s.
With John
Bowler
Steed
hat and cane.
with Emma Peel, Diana Rigg.
Oh, I think it was her.
Classic.
Like, yeah. But it definitely had Steed, and
Cat suit.
yeah. Oh no cat suits. Oh. There was a 60s sort of like short all-in-one ensemble. But oh my god, it's so stupid. It's the most. I didn't realize just quite how dumb it was. It was the episode,
color, or was it in black?
It was in color
because originally they were black and white.
Yeah,
so it must be the later one.
It was in color, and it was about someone like the bad guys had a dry rot gun.
Oh wow!
So you'd fire it at wood, and wood would just disappear.
Oh my god!
so they were having a fight, and he sort of fell under a piano at one point. So they dry rotted the piano, so the keys fell on him.
Because the keys aren't made of wood.
No, they're made of ivory. That's hilarious.
It's really stupid. Like at one point, whoever the lady was, she goes and hides in a log cabin, and then it just fades to black and fades back up again, and it's just like, and then the cabin's not there.
Oh god!
just the
Why
just the
did
fire.
she hide in the log cabin if she knew they had the dry rot gun?
Well, hiding. I guess they didn't know she was there.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. And the whole thing got even more ludicrous when they found the end bad guy who was a timber man, like in the timber industry.
I thought you meant he was literally made of timber. That was very convenient.
Oh no!
No, he was like some mad guy, and like who sort of
He was trying to create demand for his products by destroying the other products.
I think so, but he'd sort of done it by like saying he had like a super dry rot gun or like super strain of the whatever it was he was using that would spread on its own like fungal spores,
right?
But
and destroy all the wood in the world.
Yeah, but it was more literally fungal spores, as it turns out, because it made giant mushrooms as well.
Okay.
And so the end scene was them cooking this giant mushroom.
Very not dry rot.
It's just like, well, we've succeeded. We're going to have mushrooms all week.
This sounds awesome.
No, it's like it could be amazing. Like, say it was done by like a modern cartoonist or something, but
yeah, but it was done by a British 1960s television crew.
And it's just awful. I mean, it's got one of those classic scenes where she's like chained up at one point in a like a kitchen, and she just looks around and goes, "Aha, acid!" and just acids the chains, and you're just like,
right,
"Yep, well, 60s, I guess."
Yeah.
Science. But the dry rot gun was fun. At one point, they used it where they knew someone was above them, so they dry rotted the ceiling. So they fell down.
That's brilliant. I want to watch this.
It's basically like anti-Fortnite, if you could like unbuild stuff.
Yeah.
You mean Fortnite, where you can destroy everything?
Well, yeah, sure.
It's not anti-Fortnite, it is just Fortnite.
But you'd have to blow it up, right? Like, to destroy it. You can't just, like, unbuild it.
Well, you kind of can. You just hit it with a pickaxe. Yes. So that gets the materials even. You don't just destroy it. It's better than a dry rot gun.
How did you find some original Avengers?
It was on, like, ITV4.
I mean,
right.
Sure.
Like, in the morning. Yeah, what a stupid thing.
Because there was just a whole spy craze, wasn't there? So anything to do with spies just got greenlit, even if it was like weird fantasies.
I mean, it was barely even spying, right? He wandered into like an antiques dealer at one point and was like, and pretended to be some guy and asked him questions. And then before he'd even left the store, the proprietor had picked up the phone and was like, "There's a guy asking weird questions, and he's just hanging around in the back of the store going, like
with his bowler hat and his cane."
Yeah.
Being steedy.
It's like it's not even remotely stealth. It was like less than 2 seconds after they'd had their conversation. It's like, yeah, it's a weird guy asking questions. It's like, I'm still here, guys.
I've never seen the supposedly terrible film version with who's it? Uma Thurman, Ray Fiennes, and the baddie is Sean Connery.
I think I have,
right,
but I can't remember anything about it.
Isn't he trying to control the weather or something? I remember that.
Sounds about right.
That was the plot. The evil plot.
No, I think I did see that because it was on Sky at one point.
And it has the leather catsuit, of course, but this time it's Uma Thurman.
Yeah, so there's that.
I always think of her because Diana Rigg is in Game of Thrones.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
How odd.
That's the Queen of Thorns.
Thorns.
I seem to remember.
And I saw a literal wizard in Glastonbury. It was just a dude dressed up as a wizard.
That's always.
It's like
He
I don't think you can call that a literal wizard.
It was a man in costume.
I choose.
I mean,
to
admittedly, maybe you just. I mean, you
Could
wouldn't necessarily know if he was a wizard or not. You didn't have any proof either way.
No, that's
he
true.
looked like a wizard.
Yeah.
He had the visual appearance of a standard wizard.
He put on his robe and his wizard hat.
Yeah.
Indeed. So, cliches be clicheing in Glastonbury.
That's like a very like tiny specific cliche for Glastonbury, though.
Shamans and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure that's
I'm not
for
sure
the
I saw.
festival and not just year round. But
I'm not
And
sure.
it's
I saw
also not
any-
really just wizards. I would have said it's more like druids.
Yeah.
you were thinking
yeah,
of.
more like druids,
which I didn't really see, but I guess like what is it? It's King Arthur Kingdom, right? An Arthurian
Yeah,
legend, so it's
So you're talking about actual
Merlin, I guess. Yeah, yeah. There was a lot of crystals. Just if you want crystals, Glastonbury's your place, man. Also, don't go to Cheddar. Apparently, Cheddar is closed. We found that out ahead of time, but like if you want to go to Cheddar Gorge, it's like it's shut. It's still shut.
Right, fair.
You want to go caving? See, now I'm mildly disappointed because we didn't go to Cheddar and buy cheddar, but
I think cheddar is a unusual enough cheese to make that effort worthwhile.
Right.
I don't know. You definitely get better cheddars.
Not.
Yeah,
I don't
but in
know,
fairness, you
maybe.
can get some of the better cheddars from Older Car Farm. In fairness,
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You can buy better
Just down-
cheddars wherever.
just
Yeah.
down the road. Yeah, but they do those nice ones like in in wax bombs.
It makes you wonder how the cheese got the name and managed to. I guess because you just need to name things. So at a certain point, when something comes from, it's like if Stilton was like as prevalent as cheddar, would it be the same situation where you didn't really care about it because it's so generic?
Yeah,
You might as well just call it cheese.
cheese food.
Making me hungry for cheese now.
Well, pizzas later
Pizzas,
on,
that's
so
true.
Pizza
we'll be good
incoming.
on the cheese front.
Delicious pizzas.
Holding it down on the cheese tip. Thanks, Domino's. Oh, I couldn't. For some reason, I don't know quite what triggered me the other day, but I've had those old V-Dub ads in my head
Oh,
for like the last week.
man.
Or I'll just be going V-Dub, holding it down on the engineering tip, y'all.
You've had a few adverts going around. It's all Taste the Rainbow at the moment.
Taste the rainbow. And I Taste the Rainbow never left. It's like whenever I see Taste anything, it's just like Taste the Rainbow. I mean, that's not even how those Skittles ads went.
No, that's how we made
Taste
fun
the
of them.
rainbow.
Taste the
That's how
Rainbow.
we made fun of them in an outtake on this podcast about 7 years ago.
Oh yeah, that did happen. Taste the Rainbow, mate. This podcast is old.
Yep. But we've been saying bullshit about that kind of thing for way longer than the podcast has been around.
Yeah.
Think about the mini cheddars being bought for.
Pork sauce. Oh man, I haven't had a cheddar biscuit in a long time.
My mum actually left some because she brought some to because we had a picnic in the park when she came visit me, and there were cheddars left over, and she was like, "Oh, you can have these." So I put them in the cupboard, and then they stayed in the cupboard.
Aw.
I never ate
Aw.
She just ate them immediately.
them.
Weak.
Yeah.
Do you ever have the Have you seen like Jaffa cakes like continuing foray into other flavors of Jaffa?
I
They
think
used to do.
Because we've tried
Did-
both the cherry and the blackcurrant recently,
Oh.
and I thought both of those sounded amazing.
See, I've had
But
cherry or
Orange still wins.
I've had raspberry Jaffas from like M&S, but not from official. Mobilities.
Yeah.
And they're nice. I always get the raspberry ones from M&S,
Mm.
but they're like rectangular for some reason, or like with
To prevent copyright infringement.
yeah. They're not, and they're like they don't have the kind of saucer shape where
The
there's
lump.
Where there's a lump in the
What
middle.
do they
They're just
call-
even?
Oh, I see. That's probably better.
Well, yeah.
What do they call them? Like, because presumably they can't call them Jaffa cakes. Are they like Jaff slabs or?
Oh, I can't. I think they might be called Jaffa.
They might just be called something cakes.
Yeah.
I'm not actually sure.
jelly jam cake shape.
But if they don't have them, you said them not having the mound would be better, but having the mound is how you tell where the good shit is.
Yeah,
If
but
you
it's all
can't
good
eat-
shit.
If you can't eat all the outside bits
Yeah.
off first, how are you going to do it properly?
But if the whole thing is just the good stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't. It's not going to be all the way. You have to have some edging to
I mean,
contain
you,
it.
you can't deconstruct them in the fun way that you can with a proper Jaffa, because you can't
yeah,
like munch around the edge
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
yeah, they're not, because the you know, the flavored contents or whatever is not is a bit thinner and goes across the whole thing rather than being like a puck.
Is it still a jelly?
Yeah.
Or is it like more like a paste?
No, it's jelly-ish, I would say.
or more
Yeah.
like a jam. Is there like I think a Jaffa cake could be quite nice if it had a little bit of a run to it, just a little.
Right. Yeah,
I don't know if that would make
maybe a
much
bit
difference.
more that way.
Because basically the
Yeah,
problem
that's
I kind of always have had with Jaffa cakes is like, yeah, they're sort of chocolatey and orangey, but neither flavor is powerful enough. It's
Orange is quite powerful.
I know, but which is why I think the orange Jaffa cake is still the best because
Well,
it's
yeah.
the most powerful of the
Yeah,
new
yeah,
flavors.
yeah.
But like the chocolate never really comes through. It's not good enough chocolate for that to work. And it's like, and I want, as you said, you want more of the good stuff, right?
We'll just go eat a chocolate orange instead.
Yeah, well, yes, there is that. A chocolate orange is amazing, but like that's the key problem with these cherry and blackcurrant ones. That jelly just isn't flavorful enough. There isn't enough of that coming through to make it like
Right.
like
I
really
haven't-
interesting.
I mean, the key problem with a standard Jaffa cake is once you open one of those clear plastic bags of them,
You have to eat
how
them
do
all.
you, yeah, how do you not eat them all?
Because they go stale so fast as
Yeah.
well.
do, yeah.
You have to just eat them all.
Is
And I love how they're all stacked on top of each other, and then the one on the top is
It's
like
the other way
flipped.
up.
Yeah,
Protecting-
It did just have like Gnome made it easier for us by that regard because they kept. We got a packet of these blackcurrant ones, and they just seemed to ended up moving around the house when I wasn't looking.
so every time you turned around, there was always a Jaffa cake available for you.
pretty much, yeah. I would just go about my day and then sort of like look to the side, then have to double take and be like, "Ooh, I'll have one of those."
Talking of genius adverts of yore, though, the full moon,
Half moon.
half moon,
Total
total
eclipse.
eclipse. That's genius.
That's never going away. That's
No.
never leaving my brain.
Full moon.
Although I really wish I could remember more about the Jeffrey. We or be able to at least
Mysterious
find,
adverts.
yeah, or at least be able to find what damn ad that was from.
I wish I could find the Igringo, one of my car shirts. I don't think that. I'm not sure that really existed. That's the problem.
Big finger. One of my carriages.
It's quite hard to find like even good adverts that from, you know.
I mean, we proved you can find all of the old Tango ads.
You can find the Tango ones. I think you can find the Dime Bar Armadillos.
Oh, naturally, yeah. Now that that's owned by IKEA as well. Isn't like
Right.
Dame owned? Is
Oh.
Dame owned by IKEA now? It's like because it's just like they have like a
Makes
Dame
sense.
cake if you go to IKEA
Oh, blimey.
in the restaurant.
I found if you like a lot of biscuit on your chocolate, wrong way around.
If you
Join our
like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit.
Join.
Dum-ba-da-dum-ba-da-dum.
That's about the limit.
Have a break. There must be a billion have a break, have a Kit Kat ads.
Yeah, but probably not the ones you remember, though. That's probably just the generic ones.
I don't remember any of them, in fairness.
Although, actually, probably trying to... Oh, no, I was about to say trying to find those might get you a whole bunch of the American ones, but they don't have the same catchphrase, so you'd probably actually be okay.
Yeah.
Oh. What's the American catchphrase?
Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat.
Is that a recent one? Because that sounds like...
Well, I mean, it's old,
Yeah.
but I think they still use it.
Oh, that sounds far too modern. Like, break me off a bit of that Kit Kat. Yo. That Kit Kat dim.
Aren't
Wait.
Kit Kats like super popular in Japan because
Yeah.
Because of ridiculous
Some-
flavours.
Yeah.
no, it's some
You can
kind
get
of
wasabi Kit
coincidental.
Kats.
Isn't it some coincidental like the word Kit Kat sounds like something that they say which means like good
Oh.
luck for exams or something.
You might be right. Yeah.
So they always get them and they're always having exams all the time
Yeah, yeah.
in Japan.
How
but yeah,
convenient.
they have a million flavors. Like matcha green tea Kit Kats.
Yep.
I think you can get those here, can't you?
Some of them come over every now and then.
Yeah.
Some of the weirder ones. But I don't think we've ever had the wasabi Kit Kats in the UK.
It just reminded me of something that is like weird Japanese food. But that conversation reminded me of the Windows 7 burger, and I was like, "Oh, they can do a Windows 11, 11 burgers stacked on top of each other, even bigger."
That'd be great.
Damn! We have to get that burger guy to review it then.
The trouble is that like, when it's just 7 literal burgers stacked on top of each other, it's just meat. There's nothing. It's just like you've got essentially one burger and then like 9 bits of meat.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you've got thin enough layers, you can sort of wedge in between, right? Like a cheese layer, the burger glue is
Well, that would
fine,
probably
right?
help keep the stack together somewhat.
Yeah. I mean, it would have to be some proper unwiggly bacon. You might have to use vegan bacon or something.
I don't think it had bacon because it was based on the Big Mac.
Hmm.
So it was just like 11 of those shitty Big Mac patties stacked on top of each other.
I mean, if you do
Or
it
7,
properly,
not
because
11.
a Big Mac is already like a club.
Because it has bread.
It's got bread in the middle.
I
So
mean,
you just keep adding
They definitely
that.
took the bread out. You wouldn't want that much extra bread as well as that much extra
That would
meat.
be
That would be a bit
amazing.
much.
Good. I think I've decided, like, about McDonald's burgers, like, just their standard-ass, like, double cheeseburger might actually be high ranking.
Double cheese, not like the quarter pounder.
I mean, you can get the not like the. I mean, I know you can get the double quarter pounder now, and that is pretty good. But it's just like, yeah, just getting the almost pound saver menu or whatever it
Right.
is.
Because you can
just-
buy like 4 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've done that a few times actually, like relatively recently. Where I thought I don't really fancy a Big Mac or a quarter pounder, and the Big Tasty isn't on, which is my go-to. Like, you know, it's a bad time when like the best thing McDonald's do is one of their specials that's very rarely on, and it's like, but then so I end up just with like 2 burgers. I'll get like a chicken sandwich thing and a double cheeseburger, and I'm like, I'm pretty happy, and I've spent half the money.
Wasn't that like the classic thing in America, like for the past 30 years or longer, was like the McRib?
Oh yeah.
And it was only available when pork
Pork was
prices
cheap,
like
yeah.
fall below a certain level.
Yeah, I heard McDonald's went all in because they don't make their own pork.
I was about to say I probably wouldn't like that because I don't like ribs, but actually I just don't like the inconvenience of ribs as much as the flavour.
Right.
No.
So when it's fake ribs that is just basically just meat, I'm probably good.
But they never
Probably.
taste. They never taste the same as real.
Well,
ribs.
no, obviously.
Yeah.
Does a McDonald's burger actually taste much like a real burger? Not that much.
I mean, I suppose you're right. It doesn't really taste like a proper mincemeat patty that you'd make at home, and it doesn't even vaguely taste like a Byron or any other burger on the planet. Actually,
Yeah, that's just a weird, different thing from everything else.
Magic Meat did have a nice burger down in the West Country at the Limehouse. They do good
It's a very
burgers.
generic pub name.
Well, it's kind of like, it wasn't really. I think it was something else beforehand. But they,
Well,
but-
obviously.
but they turned it into like a American themed bar. So they had like loaded fries and burgers and cocktails and things. But they're burgers. I ordered like a loaded fries dish that was like fries with crispy chicken, and I thought it would just be like little bits of crispy chicken dotted here and there. It's like, no, these are full on, like, it's if you ordered a chicken select meal from McDonald's and just slapped it on top of some chips
Right.
and then sprinkled some garlic mayo on top. So it was basically a meal in itself,
Yeah.
like alongside my actually quite large burger. And it's like, oh, I might have done a mistake here, but it was delicious. It was very good chicken as well. You know, I was saying I should lose some weight this morning.
Well, it's a
And then
celebratory
pizzas.
week.
And then pizzas. I'm my own worst enemy.
Got some cake as well in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to do things, but I don't like the process of doing those things. I just want the goal, man. I'm not in it for the journey.
That's the thing. You have to make it all about the journey. Yeah? That's the trick, supposedly.
The journey sucks.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem with the journey.
No, you know what? Nobody like goes on holiday and goes, you know what? I really enjoyed that train and that plane combination was just pucker.
Yeah.
It's my favourite part of the whole thing was
Yeah.
when Ryanair said, "Welcome to your destination." Actually, no.
Yeah, that would
that
be
part.
a good bit.
In fairness,
That's
yeah. Oh god, I get off this plane. Fantastic. think that's going to just about do it for we extended this by another
We did.
21 minutes.
Speaking of Windows 11, is there anything to say about Windows 11?
I mean, it shouldn't affect anything really
No.
on the gaming front, especially.
They moved the start menu in the middle for some reason.
And things have got corners again.
Oh, and they brought back corners.
And-
Which we noticed they were doing on the Xbox down.
There's a little bit of the Xbox dash is now cornered. There's and I guess Aero is sort of coming back more, or the translucent.
Yeah, I always quite like that aspect. of
Aero's
it.
fine, yeah, but they're going to use that more, and they started. In fairness, they already sort of have with their Fluent apps. If you start using like Windows Calculator and things, like the entire background of it is now that translucent stuff.
Right. Okay.
So they've been going that way for a while. They're just doubling down now.
Cool. Fair enough.
My concern with Windows 11 is not like any of what they're doing to the UI or any of this, or compatibility, because it will be Windows and it will be fine. My problem with it is it's like every time they've done a major release to Windows, they've said, and we've consolidated the settings into a nice place. And I'm like, oh God, no.
They
that means
always make another place to put shit.
well, or they're slowly moving. My problem is that they're slowly moving things out of the old dialogues into the new setting system,
Right.
which is terrible. Like, I
Right.
hate the new setting system.
Right.
It's like it looks nice, and it's like you can show someone with money, or like someone is like, look what we've done, we've prettied all this up, and they're like, oh yeah, this looks very modern. Yeah. And then a real user comes along and tries to use it and goes, where the hell is everything?
Right.
Why is everything like buried in menus that don't make any sense? How the hell do I get to things?
Mm.
Like my biggest concern is that they get rid of they've already hidden it away, but they get rid of the old sound mixer controls.
Yeah, the classic.
Because the new ones aren't nearly as useful.
No.
And like the old sound when you can see all your recording devices and all your playback devices all in one place and see what they're all doing at once. It's like
What was the pinnacle was Windows XP for that, I guess, or when was it first introduced?
7 probably. 7 made it the best, but but yeah, I guess that style of interface has probably been around since XP. I guess probably a while, but yeah, 7 did it good, and that's been incredibly helpful to us over the years.
And they've been hiding it ever since. Like,
it is buried away now, but it's still there. There is a way to get to it.
Do you think it'll go with Windows 11 then?
I mean, that's the risk, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm concerned
Always
about.
a
That
risk.
there'll be settings like that have just been put somewhere that isn't it just if it follows the trend that it has done since 7, I guess, or more since Windows 8, I suppose. Since 8, that there might be some settings lost to time.
Or in the professional version and not the consumer version.
That too, yeah. I don't even know if they'll do that this time. I thought they sort of started moving away from that as a thing, but maybe they will. I like Home and Pro still, because I guess what home user is really going to want to use Hyper-V. But if you're a Pro user, you get Hyper-V. So you can run all your XP stuff that doesn't work anymore.
You not just use VirtualBox or whatever on the home version?
To a certain point,
Right.
yeah, but you still need to get hold of that'll work. VirtualBox is probably your best choice for a lot of things. Because, it's fully free. Fully free. But yeah, your challenge is always going to be getting hold of the OS itself. But
Right, yeah. They used to make Microsoft used to make that OS images available for free just for doing web development, like
they're about, but I think they're locked behind like MSDN
right
or something now.
Oh, interesting.
So you still need you probably still need a valid key to install the damn thing and make it get past the you've installed it, now you need to activate it kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Even in the modern versions, but there's probably hacks for that. However you do that, or maybe there's just hacked ISOs you can get hold of, and install from there or onto your VM. But that's probably risky. Yeah, have this free hacked ISO of Windows XP that somehow does Bitcoin mining. That's probably a thing.
Anyway, just thought I'd ask what's going on with the old Windows.
Yeah, I don't think there's any like DX news tied to it or anything like that. So
No.
I think on the gaming front, we're business as usual, other than you probably need to move to it because eventually it will cut off and, there'll be a support window and all that jazz. So if you can do, basically.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the gaming news then.
Games. Talking about old ass shit. The Amiga 500. Yeah.
Yeah.
EU or European countries getting some love with an Amiga 500 Mini, which they don't have the official license for, so it's called the A500.
But then,
all one word.
How do they have the license to make it at all if they don't have the
I
license
know.
for the name?
It's really strange. It's because Commodore is such a bizarre thing now. Like, Commodore itself doesn't really exist,
Sure.
but
Like
it's sort of
Atari.
yeah. It's in that sort of category, because apparently they didn't have it for they had the same problem with the Commodore 64 Mini that the same company made, that they didn't have the official naming for it, so it was just called the C64, all one word.
Right. Okay. That's not too bad.
Yeah. But hey, that's kind of rad, right? That's weird. And it's going to come with a gamepad, which is okay. That's not exactly what the Amiga had. Most things on the Amiga were like fat micro switched joystick things. But it's also going to come with the classic 2-button mouse, the one that just looked like a slab of plastic.
Oh yeah,
just like a weird beige wedge.
Yeah.
With like 2 perfectly
round
rectangular buttons on the top. I hope it still has the weird springy sound that they used to make, because they didn't just go click. You lifted off them, and they sort of went ding. they were weird.
Do you think they'll actually feel like the originals?
I don't know. Like, I wonder if they'll make it with a ball, or if they'll just make an optical mouse. Yeah,
probably cheaper to make an optical one now.
Probably is. Yeah.
But then what software is it going to have?
Well, it's got some of the standards.
Like for any of that is going to be
yeah, I think like Team 17 have thrown in.
Well, sure, because of course they did.
Because they can do the Amiga version of Worms, which is there, and Sensible World of Soccer, I think, is there, and I think Cannon Fodder is there. That stuff. I think Zool is there. It's just a bit of a kind of famous Amiga game, kind of. Chaos Engine, which is like, kind of a big deal.
What you'd want from these, or like if I was thinking about the Atari version of this product, that is not going to come out ever because of Atari. But what I would want is just like, here's an opportunity to get legit versions of all these games I used to play, rather than the weird shareware / weird disc copies that I had.
Yeah,
have they done an ST Mini?
Of course not. This is Atari we're talking about.
Because it's not just getting back what you used to have, it's getting the actual
real versions.
Yeah.
Not weird, like, hacked compilation discs.
Yeah, which were the norm, really, for these machines back in the day. I mean, we had a few legit games, didn't we?
Well, sure, because I had the actual grey Atari discs that were for the ST.
Right, yeah. I had, like, a boxed copy of the Amiga version of Worms, and I still do. I still have that box. And Skid Marks. I've got a boxed copy of Skid Marks still. Or at the very least, I've got the box. And Pinball Dreams, I had a box copy of that. That had a rad poster in the box.
Of course.
That has now been lost to time. Yeah, I know. Bit of a shame. But yeah, this thing could be kind of cool. It does look like the A500, but it's tiny. But unfortunately, the keyboard part of it is non-functional.
It'd be funny if it did have an incredibly tiny keyboard that you could even type on.
That'd be amazing.
Use like a pencil to poke each of the individual keys because it's so small.
They probably have to put like a touch screen behind the keyboard so that that'll be easier to actually press rather than build all these little switches. But you can, the Amiga is obviously a keyboard and mouse machine, so like you can plug a USB keyboard into it as well. I don't know I can't remember if they, unfortunately, like this was announced a few weeks ago now, but like I can't remember if they said that like you could side load ROMs onto it as well, so you could just put whatever you wanted on it.
Is it going to have the OS?
That's a good question. Has it got Workbench? And which version of Workbench at that? Because it was the other thing they said is like it's not just, they've called it the A500 because the Amiga 500 was the kind of the legendary one, as the one most people had, but it apparently can do the A1200 stuff.
Right.
So it's got the expanded memory, it's got the AGA chipset emulation. All this stuff's been done in like emulators for God knows how long. So it's it's pretty much a solved problem.
I feel like what these like new mini recreations of old systems haven't done yet, but someone should, is like, it wouldn't, and maybe it wouldn't work very well with them being mini, but like, I want fake discs to put into a fake disc drive.
Right.
Oh
just
man,
the
yeah,
feeling of it, right.
yeah. You want the physicality and that satisfying.
It would be like a floppy with like the metal slide, but when you put it in and the slide goes down, it reveals like a QR code or something that the actual system reads.
It tells it, yeah. What
Yeah.
to actually use.
I mean, you'd probably just do it with RFID these days, right?
Oh yeah, or whatever.
Yeah,
I guess.
but that would be rad. Yeah, I'd be into that. Or just that's just the power button for the unit.
And
right?
also, obviously,
you have to put the disc in just to turn it on.
Obviously,
Like,
just like
be all
real
right.
emulators, you have to have it emulate disc noise.
Yeah, I mean that.
Drive noise is the most important thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ever since there was like emulators for Amigas and Ataris, we had that turned on
Yeah, I mean,
because you have to.
Emulate the drive noise.
yeah, WinUAE, and I think Winston
Yep.
were doing that right from the start. Like,
Give you that retro feel.
yeah, and putting the light on, like having a little indicator on
indicator.
screen for the
Yeah.
lights that used to be actually on the system.
I mean, in some ways, you just need that to know that it's working also. Because
there
that helps.
True.
To tell when it's actually doing
It
something.
definitely used to help.
Yeah. Well, there were ways that like software could actually control those lights on the Amiga to some degree, because there was a game, like a lot of old Amiga games used most of their storage space on the disc for like the intro music on the title screen.
Naturally.
So, but there were a couple of games that I remember. I think one of them was called Bale, and you'd plug it in, and it would make the power light dim and light in time with the music.
Wow. Highly necessary.
I know, but like, why would you do that? But it's a thing. It did it. I remember Xenophobe kind of did that as well. I think it had some stupid interactivity. And then you got games like Sensible Golf, which dedicated an entire disc to just the intro music.
But it was vital.
Absolutely vital. You got to step up to the ball at the very first tee.
I mean,
You start to get a little nervous, and your spine gets a tingling. You walk up to the ball and you give it an almighty thwack. Good shot. Must have travelled 2 for 4.
I mean, do you want to play golf? I mean, so the Amiga 5, the A500 then.
The A500.
As long as it's got sensible golf on there.
I don't think it does. Like, Sensible
Yeah.
Golf is one of those kind of like, that game was legendary to us, but it didn't really take
Sensible
off.
Soccer on the C64 one they made.
I mean,
SWAS ended up everywhere. Like
Yeah.
there was on the Genesis and
Yeah,
things, so
yeah.
it's-
I was about to say it like, are they going to realise what games they should push on it for the European market? But it's really just, it is a European market thing. So that's not,
Yeah.
like, it's not like this was the Atari's, like the Atari 500 or whatever that they minied in the America. And it's just like, we didn't have that to start with. So obviously we wouldn't care about those.
No, it's kind of cool. Maybe I have to get out my Amiga emulation again, do some stuff. Maybe some more videos coming. I don't know. Play some old Amiga games. Woo! Oh, ATV is on this thing as well, which I think is another Team 17 joint that I played back in the day. That was fairly decent.
At this point, you might as well just have a Team 17 box.
Yeah, I
It's
guess.
like, they can make their own console at this point to put all of their games on there because they've got so goddamn many of them. And
Yeah.
they keep re-releasing them everywhere, all over the place.
And they were big supporters of the Amiga,
Oh,
I
sure.
guess, being a UK company, right?
But-
Well, they were.
I mean, it's not exactly that they were supporting the Amiga. It's more like the Amiga was the supporter of them at the start.
Yeah, I guess. So there's that. Idris Elba, of Hollywood fame, and Heimdall, I guess.
And Luther.
That is still Hollywood. He's
Yeah.
not actually Norse.
No, he is Heimdall. He is playing Knuckles in Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Because,
The
of course,
movie.
they're bringing in Knuckles straight away.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that wasn't clear. Oh, I mean, I suppose it had been leaked, right, that they'd been using, like, costumes of Knuckles on set to act as, as a reference. So, that had got out there. But, officially, we only know that Tails is there, right? Because he was in the post-credit screen of the last one.
Yeah, but now we know.
Now we know. Knuckles.
And so we move closer to remaking Sonic Adventure 1 in film. As is
So do you think he'll start out as an antagonist or whatever, Knuckles?
Yep,
Yeah.
presumably.
Yeah.
They're going to do all the
Do
cliches
the
of
whole
Sonic
thing
3
again.
/ Sonic Adventure 1.
Who would play the other members of the Sonic verse?
Which other ones are you worried about at this point, though? Because Tails and Knuckles
I
are
mean-
the two that we want.
I mean, they've kind of already gone like off the rails with Jim Carrey, right? That's just.
No, it's the perfect casting
that's
for
fairly-
Dr. Robotnik. isn't it?
yeah.
I don't know. Like he just doesn't have the Eggman voice.
Well,
for
no,
the-
that's true.
like-
He's more like he's more like crazy scientist generic default rather than the
Eggman.
specific Eggman
Egg-
stylings.
Oh no, my power is failing.
Is Knuckles going to say, "Oh no"?
Oh no. Is Knuckles just going to be totally deadpan this entire time? Which Knuckles are they going to pull from? Like, are they going to use like Sonic Boom dumbass Knuckles?
No, I mean
No.
it's going to be the generic ass. Like I said, it's going to be the story of Sonic 3 / Sonic Adventure 1. Generic ass. He's fairly stoic antagonist for a while who's been fooled by Eggman and then
he's looking for the Looking for the Master Emerald.
Well, maybe.
again.
I mean, I don't know if they're going to, because of the weird way that the first film is like, it's on Earth and everything. It's like
Mhm.
it doesn't really get into the whole Sonic aspects of Sonic. Like, the rings appear a bit, but not.
I mean, the rings are kind of important to
Yeah,
the film.
but not in the way that they are in the Sonic games.
No, the rings mean something else. They kind of leaned into what the special zone rings are,
Yeah.
right? And made that's what the rings are.
So I mean, if you're going to bring in the Master Emerald, that's a bit too much of the Sonic universe's operations, right? That's like the Master Emerald, unless you're just going to say the Master Emerald just mysteriously exists on Earth for some reason.
Who else we get? Do you reckon we'll see Amy Rose? Are we bringing in like or Shadow? Are we starting to bring in the extended cast,
Big
or
the Cat.
or Big the Cat? Yeah, or
No.
are they just going to stop Froggy, or are they just going to stop at like Tails and Knuckles for this one?
For this one, yes. I think if Amy shows up, that will be post credits of this one.
Yeah. And then who would they cast as Shadow for the next one?
You need someone with a voice a little like this,
Not Idris
Liv.
Elba then.
not Idris Elba.
Even more so.
It's gotta have a grind to it, like a background grind that'll tear apart your throat as your voice. What about who's the guy that plays Marcus Phoenix?
He's far too gravelly.
It's actually Bender, isn't it?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Got this. Is it Billy West? Something West?
No, I don't think that's it.
Hmm.
Anyway, him. That could be kind of fun.
You're not thinking Hollywood enough.
No, I'm not
voice
thinking
actors.
that's a proper voiceover guy. David Hayter is Shadow the Hedgehog.
And Shadow just, hi D. What's a Russian
Okay,
gunship
I'll
doing?
I mean that's too good. Actually, that's too good. They could never pick that. It's too good.
They used Kiefer Sutherland to replace David Hayter, so maybe you could use him for a Shadow.
Kiefer Sutherland could work. Actually, that's not a bad shout. I'm kind of on board with that.
But that's only if they do, in fact, make the third film Sonic Adventure 2.
What if it was Sam Porter Bridges? Who's that guy?
Oh, yeah.
I've forgotten his real
From
name.
The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
That dude.
I mean that could possibly work. Possibly. No, I can't remember his name. That's annoying.
Okay, so video game movie casting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nintendo had an Indie World event thing that was, I don't know, underwhelming.
The same as it always is.
Yeah, I mean, but even less so, I think, than it has been. There was just not a lot that interested me. I mean, it's good that they keep doing them, I guess, to give people exposure, but it wasn't much that piqued my interest, pricked up my ears of interest.
Peaked is right.
Yeah, peaked is right.
We've
but
had this discussion on the podcast
yeah,
before somehow.
we've done that. But there was a new Bomb Rush Cyberpunk trailer.
Right.
And maybe another separate one. I didn't actually see the Indie World. I assume the one they showed in the Indie World was the trailer, not the gameplay trailer. Or was it the gameplay trailer?
I think it was more a trailer. I didn't see was the gameplay one literally just oh, here's a slice.
Well, it did still have voiceover in the gameplay trailer.
Oh, okay.
So, you guys excited about that?
Hell yeah.
So, because I'm just it's not just inspired by Jet Set Radio. It is Jet Set Radio,
It is,
right? It's
it's as close as damn it you could get to Jet Set Radio, and that makes me very happy.
I guess that's got to be good, right? But I'm just oh my god, they just took everything.
I mean, there are plenty of games where you get we've talked about this before, where there's plenty of games where you get that vibe where it's okay, they're doing an old game in a new coat of paint, and you kind of most of these you can look at and you immediately go, this isn't quite right. This hasn't got it. But
Bomb Rush Cyberpunk looks like it's got
100% looks like it has it.
It's nailing it.
And to a point, to be fair, to as much as I love Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future, there's some gameplay stuff there that just doesn't hold up.
Well, I mean, that's what we've said about all the not remakes of games like City Skylines and all the rest of them. It's you can't just remake it. You've got to improve it, and those ones didn't, but this one might. Although to say improving is not so much as improving as in improving the technology of the function of the game. It's making the game play better in this case. Making Jet Set more of a functional game.
Yeah, if it does, then
it doesn't have to do a whole lot. Yeah, you're right. Technologically, it doesn't have to do a whole lot.
No.
It's not. It doesn't have to push the hardware. It can still be blocky as hell, polygon wise and things like that. That's fine. As long as the physics
are weirdly floaty but manageable, and the graffiti system is fun.
And Team Reptile have already proven they can nail that look, not just from the trailers but from Lethal League. Right? It's they've done this.
I hope it's good then. I mean, if the gameplay's good, I just maybe it's just a complete rip off, right? Which is fine. If it's,
say you're never going to do it.
No, so great, good. I'm glad then.
Naganuma's involved, so can't be bad, right?
For at least one song.
The Funky Uncle's is there.
Yeah, I mean, go for it, guys. Yeah. And that's going to come out on Switch.
It's going to come out on Switch. Yeah. Next, it's got a date of next year.
Okay.
So we don't. They haven't said when next year, just 2022. But that's something. Switch exclusive, timed exclusive to the console.
I see.
But there is a Steam version.
Mm-hmm.
So whether or not that will come out at the same time or not isn't clear. But I would be surprised if that doesn't just launch side by side, because the language they used here was a timed console exclusive to Switch,
right? Which
normally means the PC version comes out.
I wonder, because you probably want to see that in 4K. I suppose.
It might not matter though.
No, I bet it'll be absolutely fine on the Switch again because it's got that style limitation. I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine.
I'm sure it'll be great. I mean, that's okay. Cool. Kind of interested then.
I'm so hype. There are very few games these days where I actually get genuinely hype about, especially as it nears release. My hype drops off dramatically normally when you start to actually see what the game is.
And then you're near release exactly though.
No, we're miles away, but right now I'm at maximum hype.
Sweet. That's great.
Max hype. And then for a lot less hype, there's another Call of Duty game. That was.
Why is this news at all?
Because it's just kind of weird, isn't it? Because they're just going back to. It's weird because they're going back to World War II.
That's not that weird.
It's called Vanguard, but they in pretty much every previous Call of Duty game, they've tried to at least tell you a little bit about, or it feels like there might have been a solid through line in their plot that was visible from the trailer. This is. Not that. This looks like they're doing a Battlefield 1 on us, and that they're having disparate stories across all aspects of World War II, which is is it mini campaigns? Is it what is it? What is this? It looked visually nice for the small bits of gameplay were actually in that trailer that weren't CG. But Call of Duty has looked visually nice for a while.
But aren't Call of Duty campaigns always mini campaigns? You do a mission and then you just go somewhere else.
I mean, sort of, but they go somewhere else. But it's like the same characters come with you. And sometimes, but this didn't. I don't know. This looked more, or like, it's probably just bad trailer editing, honestly. But apparently, the last one, World War II, wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I mean,
it's interesting that they're going back. It is mildly interesting that they're going back to that well.
It kind of looks better than. To me, it looks better than the World War II battlefield. What's it called?
5. Yeah. V.
I'm not saying it looks better, absolutely, in absolute terms of rendering a realistic world, but I just mean it looks like it captures World War II a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Because Battlefield 5 kind of was doing Battlefield 1. And
exactly.
Fake World War II.
Fake World War II, yeah. This looked more like, oh, okay, this is like proper World War II, the original Call of Duty, but in 2021.
I mean, Battlefield 1 was more grounded, right?
Not that much. For the World War 1 setting, not really at all.
Yeah.
If it was really like World War 1, there wouldn't be fucking any automatic weapons at all, basically.
How many flamethrowers did they really have in Battlefield in World War 1, sorry? So there was quite a lot of flamethrower dudes.
They had them in World War 2.
Yeah, more in World War 2 than World War 1. Just like the automatic weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was quite a few of those.
Even in World War II, the average soldier didn't have an automatic weapon by default.
Grand. Ching! All about that ping.
No trouble.
All about that ping. About that ping. But sure you want maximum treble for that ping. Ping!
It'd be weird if it was all bass.
Yeah.
Pong!
I mean, now someone's got to make that gun. Where it's like an M1, but it's just like the slow.
No, this is with basically this is an Enter the Gungeon joke or something where you have because obviously in Enter the Gungeon you have the M1 and it has the ping, but you make it so it's one of those guns that changes on reload. So it's the M1 on top, but then you flip it over and it's like the base M1.
Base M1.
And it reloads with a pong.
Well, it's like a grenade launcher.
The ping pong gun.
Yeah, it's like the normal gun on top, but underneath it's just like it's a one massive shell. It
just fires the whole clip.
Boom! Pong. Bow. Just trying to. Oh man, that's the news.
It's time.
Fuck all of it that there was.
Yeah.
But what have you been playing over the past 3 weeks?
Oh, a little bit of news I've just remembered that we didn't come across earlier. Hey, they're making a sequel to River City Girls.
Oh, your favourite.
So I'm quite happy. Yeah.
Another thing to be hyped for. Then.
I saw a tweet and they were talking about characters that they were pulling in. I think they were pulling someone in from Double Dragon. It might have been and final
Billy
fight.
or Jerry.
No, but they're all female, right? Because River City Girls.
So
the person
Billy or. I don't know what I can do with Jimmy for that one.
Jemima.
Yeah.
Jemima.
Yeah, so I'm quite happy. That game was rad. Wicked sick to the max. Games! What you been playing?
All right.
Who's going first?
What you've been playing? You've been playing that Horizon.
God, have I?
Finishing that Horizon.
Yeah, so you guys actually saw me finish it after 55 hours. Finish the main campaign. There's still side quests to do, but whether or not I'll do them or not is another question. I'm sitting here with that sort of feeling of maybe I'll never touch it again.
Ever again.
Now that I've done the main quest, like I do with some games where you just finish the main thing and you're like, well, I could go and do this.
But I'm kind of done.
Yeah. Because, boy, I think it really outstays its welcome. It's far, far too long. I was kind of done at 30 hours. It didn't need the last 25. But to be fair, by the time I got to about 20, 25 hours, I got to the point where I was starting to get more competent at it.
Mm.
And to that point, I don't think it's actually really my skill. I think it was just I leveled to the point where it became playable.
Right.
There are certain, I think the long dodge is pretty essential for taking out certain enemies in that game. So until I had that, those complaints I was having about hitboxes and things on enemies and stuff, they were just unavoidable. Whereas when you get the long dodge, can actually avoid them. It seems like it gives you not only like a further distance, but like more invincibility time whilst you're more iframes,
Right.
whilst you're dodging out of the way. So suddenly the absurd hitboxes that some things have on that game suddenly aren't as much of an issue.
Is there any way to like mainline your way to that sooner, or do you just
You
get it as
can,
part of the
yeah,
story?
because you get skill points and you pour them into a sort of tree-like structure, so you could get there pretty fast.
Right. But now you wouldn't know that you wanted the long.
No, I ended up getting it far too late, I think, and like I still think the game is badly paced. Like, and I still think it's like not clear in how it organizes its missions as to like, you're ready for this, because they have I think I've described this before, but every mission in the game has a level on it in a number, and that level doesn't really tie to your player level. So you'll be ahead of the level it suggests, and you'll go and do the thing, and it'll be like, oh no, I'm so not ready for this. This is kicking my ass. And like I tried some of the stuff like over and over and over again, thinking I'm missing something here, because it's like it feels like it says I should be able to do this. Why can't I do this? And as it turns out, it was all kind of hidden behind that long roll. as soon as I got that, the game got a lot easier. And it's it's problematic. And like, well, you saw me fighting one of those fighting healers towards the end of the game, and I'm trying to fire some like fire arrows over a balcony, and it's like my crosshairs clearly over the balcony, and the arrows are just going straight into the wall in front of me, and it's like, okay, hitboxing not quite right there. And there's moments like that where you're trying to stealth around, and I've been aiming at people's heads, and I fired the shot, and I've visibly seen it go through the guy's head, and it goes, nah. It's like the hitboxing is ropey at times, which is quite disappointing for something that encourages precision arrow play quite a lot.
Just doesn't seem like all that polished considering it's a AAA game.
No, like there are bits where it's like the Mass Effect-y style character interactions are sometimes like feel like they haven't really advanced since Mass Effect 1, you know.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's not an RPG, but well, it sort of is.
Sort of. Yeah. You're not really leveling in the.
But you don't have as many conversations as in Mass Effect.
There's quite a few, in fairness. There is a buttload of side stuff that you're doing, but it has that other problem of open world games where there's a fairly large amount of side stuff that all kind of comes down to the same sort of things. It's like it doesn't very rarely varies things or the tasks that you're doing. It's not like, to throw out the old open world comparisons, it's not like Breath of the Wild where it's like suddenly I'm racing down a slope on my shield in the snow. Yeah. It's like, and this is a one-off thing, kind of. It doesn't really do that. Like everything is always go to place, murder dudes, or destroy some machines, and then maybe talk to a thing. It's like it doesn't really get far from that. Yeah, like even in the main storylines, there's only the odd occasion where there's actually a bit where it's like a runaway sequence or something like that. It doesn't happen all that often. It just doesn't mix it up nearly enough for its runtime. So you're doing kind of the same thing for the entire game, which is a bit of a bummer. Hey, I've got Frozen Wilds still to play, so I don't know. It doesn't look like maybe that will be that big. So maybe I just get this finished. But then 12 Minutes came out on Game Pass, which looks like it might be decent.
But how many hours is that going to take, really?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I'm hearing things like some of the puzzles.
Some multiple number of 12.
12, yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing things that some of the puzzles in that are quite obtuse, and that it might get kind of annoying replaying the 12 minutes to get to the important decision or something.
But how many of the ridiculous ones do you have to get? That's the question. Because is it one of these things where you have to find every ending or whatever?
Right, yeah. Or is there just a way to get there, or multiple routes to try and get to the actual finale, and that you don't have to find the most obtuse route?
How many endings do you have to get 50% of the achievements?
Well, yeah, that. What is the end of that game? Like, what is the actual stopping point? And we've got Psychonauts 2 in a week.
Wow, that's exciting.
That is exciting.
Hype.
My hype. I sort of I've had a roller coaster of hype with Psychonauts 2. It started off pretty high when they announced it, then kind of dipped for a while when I saw what the early footage looked like. But it's kind of been recovering with the most recent stuff. So I think I'm in. I can't really complain. It's on Game Pass. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I played that. In other little experiments on Game Pass, I have played Lumines Remastered.
Oh,
because
that really needed remastering.
I mean, it's the exact same game as the PSP version. They've changed some of the menus and tightened up some of the look of it. You don't get a loading pause between skins anymore when it swaps. It just goes immediately in, to the point where actually it's quite nice now, because as the time bar scrolls across the puzzle thing, it's just painting the new skin on as it goes.
Oh, that's nice.
So there are some nice little visual improvements there, but it's it's Lumines. It's still that puzzle game from way back when. 2003 ish.
Yeah.
And they haven't really added anything to it. The content is all there. I almost beat the challenge mode in my first go. It took ages, because that game takes ages, and too long actually, and you get kind of bored of it. And I don't think the musical style of that first game has aged very well at all. Some of those, especially the Mondo Grosso dance tracks, are fine. Shinin' is still great. The very first thing you do in that game is still great. But maybe the shake your body down to the ground is still kind of okay, a playthrough. But some of those in-house skins, pretty ropey. Hearing them again, especially some of the later ones, where they're just there's some weird ones that don't really work and get quite annoying after a while. Challenge mode is too long. I played through all of the versus CPU mode, and which is a bit of a crapshoot anyway, because it's the computer either walks it or they make a mistake early on and you walk it. There's no middle ground in it, so you can just keep playing it until you win. And then so that didn't take very long either. So I haven't played any of the puzzle mode, but I feel like I've almost done that game now.
Yeah,
in a few hours. So it's okay, this was nice returning to it for a bit, but I think I'm done. Where's my Lumines 2, yo? With the licensed soundtrack and stuff like that. Lumines 2 was the better game. But doesn't get any love. Need my Missy Elliott up in here. And Gwen Stefani, I think, was on that thing as well.
I'm sure.
And Beck? I think Beck was there. And Genki Rockets, of course. The Miz's own band. So there was that. I had a very brief foray with Rock of Ages 3. Which... Okay, where do we even start with this? Right, so you're a boulder with a face on it that rolls... I don't know if if the previous games were like this, right? But in this one, it's history, like a comedy take on history, featuring rolling boulders at things, and you tend to be the Rock of Ages is just this boulder with a face on it. So I thought the game was going to be just a series of challenges about rolling this ball down hills and hitting things,
right?
Or just getting through a course, a bit like Monkey Ball. Right. I thought that's what I was getting into. Yeah. I was so wrong. The game is nothing like that at all. So there's a bit of that, and the game even introduces you to that slightly, with the opening levels a bit like that. But then it sort of turns into a competitive tower defense game. So the next level that it has you do is it's actually you're actually trying to defend something against a series of balls rolling at you. So you're building barriers and defense turrets to try and stop the balls from reaching the end point and doing damage to your thing. And then you've got a little zappy attack you can do while on, and there's money you can grab off the playfield. And it's okay, this took a direction. Maybe this is just the other side of the coin. No, that's the main side of the coin, because the third part is you doing both at the same time. So you go through a phase of building up your defenses, and then meanwhile, your dudes are building your boulder, and then you hit go, and then you take control of the boulder to try and get to the enemy's thing through their defenses, and that's the game, and that sucks. Like it's pretty bad. Like it's not very well made. It's like it's not very. It's just not fun. Like, and it drops you in like I can't really do the first main level. It's like it's really actually bloody difficult. The AI is just far too efficient at setting things up and just beating, because it ends up being like a timing battle. Really, you've kind of got to build up enough stuff to slow down the opponent's attack enough so you're the one attacking first
to roll.
Yeah. So if you end up getting ahead of them, you're pretty much good. So if that first phase goes badly, you're boned. And I can't. It doesn't tutorialize well at all. It doesn't really teach you what's the best approach, or what level I should really do next. Like maybe the level I picked wasn't the level I was supposed to do next, or something. It's a bit of a mess, which is a huge shame, because what it gets 100% right and is brilliant are its stupid little like cutscenes introducing all of this, because it's done in a sort of Monty Python, Terry Gilliam style animation, like with little like cutout dudes sort of like around the map, and it's all done without vocals really. And like during these animations, there are bits where people do speak, but like during these cutscenes and stuff, and stupid stuff happens. Like it's all done in this pretty great old card, a pretty great style that's just so absurd and fantastic that it's like rip the game part out and I'll just watch these, please. These are great. And like, which makes me wonder, like, if like what the previous two games were like, were they this as well? Have I just totally misread this series as being something else? And maybe Rock of Ages 1 is actually the one to play. Because maybe that is the monkey ball experience,
and it doesn't have the tower defense.
Yeah, with the comedy. So I'm not playing any more of that anytime soon. Which is, sorry guys, I'm not going to get to see your cool animations. Except I could probably YouTube that. I don't know. Has anyone done one of those like Rock of Ages 3, the movie type videos where you can just
there definitely will be one, yeah.
It's just all cutscenes. Yeah, so there's that, and I can't really remember. I mean, Zach and I played some Lethal League Blaze, but we did it over Steam streaming to my TV, from the PC in this room to the TV in our room over Wi-Fi. Which was a mostly okay experience.
Well, once we turn the resolution down first.
Yeah.
We've turned it down to 1080.
Yeah.
From whatever the fuck it was streaming before that.
Yeah, because it was on like automatic mode or something before, so it was trying to choose what it could do, and that didn't seem to be very stable at all. So yeah, we knocked it down to some balanced mode and forced it to only be in 1080 as the max resolution. And that seems to tidy it up a little bit.
It mostly got rid of the lag.
Mostly, but it's still there. And that's a bit of a problem for a game like Lethal League. It didn't stop us from playing it for quite a while, because that game is amazing.
I mean, it's only a problem at the start, because then you adapt.
Yeah, you do. But it did... The problem is I thought as I was like tuning my game in to be better, I then wasn't adapting to that lag. I was just tuning to what I was seeing. And I ended up fluffing it. Like, the more we played, the worse I was getting.
Yeah.
Because I was refining my game the wrong way. But hey, Lethal League Blaze is still amazing. It was still a laugh, even with all that. But yeah, it's like streaming technology, even in your own bloody home, it's still not there, really.
That's quite demanding, though, a game for it, I suppose. But
yeah.
It's fair enough.
It's if ever you wanted to test latency, that's a decent choice. What else did I play? Let's talk about NERTS. Quickly. NERTS Online.
Because Rob has played a Zachtronics game.
I've played a Zachtronics game.
Except not like in the traditional sense.
But, yeah.
Not a Zach-like.
They made
technically.
Yeah. They made a card game. Or they put out
they put out basically one of the mini games that they usually build into their main games as a separate game.
Right.
Totally for free.
Like
as well.
Final Fantasy splitting out a card game into an actual game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like Gwent, I suppose, from Witcher. It's like, this is totally free. Apparently, it's a game they play in Meat Space for real, and like it's basically speed solitaire. competitive speed solitaire. And whilst I don't have a problem with the game itself, or the implementation for that matter, although it would be really nice if their cheesy Rocky style intro was a lot shorter at the start of every round. It's kind of cool. It's funny that it's there for the first few times, but then after a while you're just like, can we just get on with it now? Do I have to listen to this intro for every time? And I was playing it with the Cambridge crew, and that they did end up commenting on it. It's like, it's kind of funny that this intro is just that little bit too long every time. And it's the same one every time, but it's but it seems to play okay. Because you've got like a shared pool of cards that everyone is building up to in the middle. In solitaire where you move your ace up basically and start building the pile from there. That's a shared area in this, and there can be moments where the lag is just enough to stop you from putting your card down before an opponent. It looks like you've done it, but the opponent gets there first, and it's like, well, yeah, okay, I can. It's huge, but it's so frustrating in that game because you need those moves sometimes to just get you unstuck, and then to be foiled by the latency is hugely frustrating. So the Cambridge crew and I have taken to calling it stress cards. Because it's a hugely stressful thing to play. It's not relaxing at all unless you're some kind of savant at it. Shout out to my friend Ian. He's unbelievably good at it, and I don't understand how. I just don't understand. It's so I have no problem with the game, but I'm terrible at it and I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
But if they want to play it, if the Cambridge crew want to play it, I'm somehow drawn to it. Because it is just, how can I possibly be? It's a depressing thing. It's one of those things you play and you be like, how can I possibly be this bad at solitaire? It's solitaire.
Well,
we've been playing it since Windows 3.1.
Badly, probably.
Or have you though? How much solitaire have you actually played?
Well, yeah, I guess not constantly. But it's like, I don't understand. I don't understand. It does my head in. I was so angry the first night I played it. It was like I tried to sleep angry, which is the worst thing you could do. And it's like, but I'm not angry with anyone in particular. I'm not even angry at the game. I'm angry at myself.
Yeah.
I hate it.
But it made you angry at yourself.
I hate it. I don't know if I've hated anything more and still kind of want to play it.
Fair.
NERTS.
If you want to hate yourself, try this game.
You can play it with randoms. It will just pick some random lobbies. It will show your friends if they're in lobbies. But if there's no one there, it will just start listing randoms, so you can just jump in. But I would highly recommend playing it with people rather than randoms, because there's no ranking or anything like that. You could go up against anyone, so it's. NERTS. I think I'm done. I think that's 3 weeks of random gameage.
Mostly one game.
Mostly Horizon still. Yeah.
Now you're freed up for Psychonauts and more.
Yeah, 12 minutes and Psychonauts and keeping up with the Rocket League requirements this time.
Maybe.
Maybe.
How's that going for you, Zeg?
I don't know what I'm level at already. The first problem, okay, I guess I can talk about the Rocket League patch and some of the things that were controversial and possibly bad. The first problem was that they bollocksed it up on Windows 7 in the patch.
Really?
As you do. Although it turned out, I don't know if they stealth patched it or just I didn't see the update go through Steam or whatever, because it got fixed without me even noticing, essentially. I just tried to run it again and it's it ran. But someone in the community who actually understands window error messages went through and worked out what the hell it was trying to do that wasn't working, and was just like, oh, you can just copy this DLL, rename it, and then that will just work. Because it was they just hadn't renamed a DLL that they were trying to update, and it wasn't even an update to the file, it was just a rename.
Rename of the file itself, yeah.
So that got fixed quickly.
Is that like a system DLL then? Or?
Apparently, yeah.
Oh, weird.
You can either copy it in the Windows folder or copy of it inside Rocket League.
Right, yeah, because we'll be using common, file searches to find it first.
Yeah. So that got fixed apparently for real, not just by the community, very quickly, thank God. So I couldn't play it again after like the second day. But then the two controversial things about this patch, one of them significantly more controversial than the other. Well, maybe. Controversial for different reasons. The first one, which is less significant to me, I would say, but more significant to the visuals of it, I suppose. Not literal visuals, like the perception, I mean.
Optics.
Optics, that's the word. That's the bullshit word that we need for this situation.
It's a bullshit word, but yeah.
They changed it so that the player counts aren't numbers, they're just descriptive now.
Yeah. They're like great, like, what's it? Good, great, amazing.
Yeah, it's good, great, amazing.
Oh.
Which obviously everyone is like, oh, you're just trying to hide how few people are playing Rocket League.
Yeah, where's the bad?
Well, also, yeah, and it's like good, great, amazing. The classic, like, it's never bad. It's only good.
Rocket League's always good, people. Come on in.
But the weird thing about that change is, like, for me, it's done the exact opposite to what they're trying to do. Like, they're trying to hide the player counts to make it, like, you know, make it less obvious if the player counts are dying out or whatever. But every time I've looked at that, it's always been great and never amazing. So I'm like, oh, it must be way worse than I ever thought it was. Because it's like, when it was just a number, I was like, oh yeah, that's just how many people are on. But now they're rating that number as only the middle tier. I'm like, wow, that must be way worse than it.
I'll be honest, in fairness, I've only played like the extra playlists and it's never gone above good. I've never seen great or amazing yet.
I mean, I'm just playing Freeze and it's only ever been great. And I'm like, and I'm searching Europe and America.
You playing? Oh, of course, you play Three's ranked there. Yeah. Now that we can't, now that we don't have our third team member anymore. Yeah.
So it's just like, how is that not the one that should be amazing? Although, you know, that ranking is proportional to like what they expect. So on the extra playlists, if it does go up to amazing, that'll be in relation to like the average of that playlist, not like there are 100,000 or whatever.
Right.
And then the other change they made, which was way more controversial, and we kind of discussed several times before, is they basically put in bans in casual for quitting.
Oh, really?
Which everyone is super pissed about, unsurprisingly.
I mean, I guess I'm not against it, but it is a bit weird to put it in casual, right? It needs to be pretty lenient if they're going to put it in there.
It's meant to be. I don't know if it's lenient enough, maybe, but the trouble is, of course, that what happened is they put in any penalty at all. It doesn't matter how lenient it was. Any penalty at all just means that people are just going to be dicks and basically just either AFK or, you know, just drive in a straight line, which prevents them from kicking you for AFK, or just deliberately start own goaling for the next rest of this game.
I've seen that.
Which, of course, that's what would happen in competitive if the forfeit doesn't go through. That will happen quite a lot. But in casual, you just quit. But now you can't, because then you get penalised. So it's actually just made everyone in casual even more shitty, but for a different reason. They don't just get pissed off and leave, they get pissed off and then just make the game shit for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah. It hasn't... I can see the intent, but it hasn't had the desired effect, because it doesn't have the desired effect in ranked.
No.
Let alone casual. But what else are you going to do in ranked, honestly? Like,
I mean, in ranked, there's no way around it. You just have to have the forfeit system. In casual, there's maybe other options.
Yeah.
I mean, the obvious solution is if you vote to forfeit, but the forfeit doesn't go through, then you can quit without penalty. I'm not sure that would help, but that would just make it one step more.
I mean, that's just all that would happen, right? You'd vote for forfeit, and if it doesn't happen, it's like they don't oh, fine, okay, I guess I'll knuckle down. Like they were just like, well, I'm just leaving. Screw you guys.
Well,
it's
there's no way you can penalise in casual and make it make sense, really, unless you do the ridiculous method that some multiplayer games have tried in the past of basically just having a hidden stat on the back end that tracks when people quit and then just put them all in the lobby by themselves.
Yeah, the sort of
penalise the bad people by putting them up with each other.
The arsehole category. Because that was I only learned fairly recently that was a secret category you could be on the. Do you remember when the Xbox 360 had zones? Yeah. You could belong to. There was a cheater zone.
A cheater zone. That's how Fall Guys starts to deal with cheaters. Put them in the.
Oh yeah,
play together.
There's plenty of games have used a system like that. Yeah, but it's shadow ban. That's a good way of saying it.
Of course,
It's like put all the assholes together.
Yeah.
The trouble with that in the Rocket League casual concept, like that might work in ranked, but in casual, the whole point, well, half the point that people are pissed off about is that the point of casual is that you're just playing in a state where you might need to quit. Like, I don't know how long I can play for, so I might need to quit at any moment, and that's what casual is for.
So I'm going to drop into casual so I can drop out. Yeah.
But then, of course, the counter argument to that is, well, if you only quit once within a 24-hour period, then you're fine. You don't get a ban. And, I mean, fair enough. I mean, but then people are like, oh, but the counter argument to that is like, what if I start playing and get interrupted 3 times in a row? It's like, well, yes, I mean, your life might be in that situation where that would happen, but I mean...
But maybe you shouldn't be playing Rocket League if that's your situation.
Well, but the trouble with that is that Rocket League is kind of an ideal, incredibly short-time game. Provided you can count for 5 minutes, I guess.
Or maybe you should play a multiplayer game that involves a lot more players, where your existence isn't so important. Like, I don't know, if you dropped out of Chivalry, no one would care.
I mean, the trouble is that, like, the dropping out because of you need to go and the dropping out because you're a dick is, like, 2 completely different reasons, but there's no way to differentiate them in the game logic to make it so that only one of those gets penalised.
No, unless you're relying on reports.
Well, yeah, but then you get report abuse, where people just spam the reports on everyone constantly. It's like, that doesn't solve it either. You can't rely on the community to solve the problem.
No, not without review, anyway.
No. So it's an unsolvable problem, and this attempt that they've taken to solve it probably is pissing people off more than just people quitting.
But then report spamming itself is a trackable thing, right? Because you can see the players that are doing that.
Well, yeah, but spamming and, like...
And then you just disregard their reports.
Yeah, but spamming isn't necessarily, like, that obvious for, like, once per game report. I mean,
I mean, if you're reporting your entire team every game, for instance,
well, yeah, maybe.
Then it's kind of obvious.
But then, of course, there's the other classic problem that we've always talked about in Rocket League's report system, where it's just like the categories are so inexplicably like, what the hell do these even mean anyway? And also, one of them doesn't actually do anything.
Which one's that?
Well, the generic one, the unsportsmanlike conduct, or whatever.
Yeah, which unfortunately is the one that seems like best.
That's the only option. The other ones are for actual real cheating.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, unsportsmanlike conduct doesn't do anything.
Which would be like, real cheating would be almost impossible to tell, though, right? In Rocket League,
I don't know. It's like, well, it depends what you mean by real cheating. Like aimbots or whatever have existed in Rocket League at some point, but
but how would you? Because you still have to like rotate within the rules of the physics to actually put your car in that position. It's like it'd be obvious if it suddenly went boing and it's facing the right way.
Well, maybe. I mean, that's like what aimbots are actually in FPSs.
Sure, but like, it depends how the game, like, what's the word? Like, restricts the physics.
Because there is, like, you can change the rotation speed on, like, rolls and whatever. So if you could, have you never looked at the options menu in Rocket League? I mean, admittedly, I play on default control, so I technically haven't either. But
you can change how fast you air rotate.
I think so. To within limits.
What?
And also, you could be playing on a keyboard and mouse, which has completely different physics to its rotations.
Huh. Weird.
So anyway, that's Rocket League. That's what's going on with its latest patch. The theme this time is Western. And
I don't think it's that Western.
No, not really. The level is like the only Western thing, really. And a cowboy hat, maybe.
And a cowboy hat.
And
some TNT wheels.
They really haven't come up with any, like, Western goal explosions. You've got the giant finger guns, and that's it. And it's just like, that's quite weak. Where's a big pile of tumbleweeds coming out of the goal or something?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Or just some six-shooter symbology or something, like, could have been used.
Yeah, like a gun barrel and then a bullet flies in or something.
I mean, yeah, they could have done it. Yeah, they could have just done a variant where the like of the missiles coming in, right? Where like a huge target appears and it goes ping, 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 ping. Or like a line of cans or something.
Like a shooting gallery.
Like, ting, 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 ting.
Yeah, so it's quite weak.
The finger guns is quite weak. because it's like it's almost it's worse. Like the heart, the
The
finger
heart
heart.
one. I hate all the giant finger
Yeah.
emotes, goal explosions. They're all terrible.
They're now starting to bring in, yeah.
Right.
It's like the finger hearts was sort of acceptable because that's sort of what you do. I can't even fucking do it there. Like,
Yes.
and it's sort of like I mean that's sort of acceptable, but the finger guns, like with the same damn like white gloved Mickey Mouse hands, nah, dog.
Mic drop. That was like,
Oh yeah, mic drop.
I think the mic drop is the best of those. I don't even like the heart, mainly because I see
The
it far
heart,
too much.
the heart is used a lot.
I don't know why.
I finally saw an Aston, like the DB5. It's a long time to come across one, but I finally did.
So that's Rocket League. I played, going down the list in terms of length, I guess I played a small amount of Dwarf Fortress.
Oh yeah.
I was like, it's time to check in with Dwarf Fortress. Nothing has really changed, of course, because they're not working on that version.
They're working on the graphics
They're
version.
working on the Steam version.
Hmm.
I had to look at the version number to be like, how many different versions has it been since the last time I played? Look at my folders.
Probably not many.
No, not that many, but still some. But yeah, it hasn't really changed much. I just went back in and, well, I don't know if it's like, I don't know if anything has changed or whether I'm just annoyed by it this time. But like, I'm getting far too many migrants. Oftentimes in the past, I'd like, I just like
immigrants.
hard limit the cap. You just write in the INI file. You can just like hard limit your fortress population, which is obviously meant to be more of a performance thing. To be like, I can't handle 100 dwarves, to turn it down to like 70 or something. But you can use that to basically manipulate migration to stop them from coming. But I didn't turn that on, and I've always felt that it's a bit much, but this time has been completely ridiculous. Where it's like you're starting a completely new fortress with your 7 hardcore dwarfs who've gone out into the world to dig a completely new place, and then in under a year you've got 60 people.
Right, it's
like that's not how migration would work, I don't think.
I mean, it might.
Because it's meant to be, it's like the way it's meant to work is it's based on the wealth, right? So as you create more things in the fortress,
more prosperity,
it attracts more migrants. But I don't think it's possible to not have like over 50 people within a year. It's like they need to scale it down or something, like the numbers. Or this is why I was thinking whether it's something that has changed, like have the numbers not changed, but the gameplay around it has changed over time because there's so many. Like, for example, there's a bunch of new stuff you can make, like musical instruments and books and all the stuff for the taverns and the temples, all these new items that you not necessarily have to, but are kind of going to be making. Has that just inflated the amount of wealth that you'll make on average so much?
More migrants as a result. Yeah.
And also, this was a problem way before this problem, but like once they changed it so that migrants were actually like real people that exist in the world.
As opposed to what?
Well, previously it would just generate new people,
Dudes.
new dwarves.
Right, yeah.
I mean, they'd be generated with like fake history or whatever.
Yeah.
But now they're actually like pulled from the historical figures pool of the entire map, so you can actually get like actual literal historical figures come to your fortress occasionally. But since they did that, I just find it really stupid that like. Because practically every migrant you get will have legendary skill in something. And it's just like, it's totally devaluing the actual like skill trading part of the whole thing.
Right, because you could just rely on someone just
like,
turning up.
It doesn't matter what your starting 7 dwarves, because normally you'd be like, okay, I have to very carefully go through my starting 7. I've only got so many points to spend and I have to commit them to certain different skills and put them into different jobs. But now you get like 50 legendary dudes in 1 year and it's like, well, the first 7 are now actually the bad ones. They're all shit compared to all these random migrants who have like legendary stone crafting or whatever.
They just turn up.
But then again, that also like contributes to the wealth problem, because if you start using the legendary people to make stuff, they make legendary grade stuff, which is worth more, so your wealth just inflates even faster.
And more migrants come.
It's just like it's cool, but it's not actually really helpful for playing the game. Or at least not the way I like to play it. I don't just like I like a small population where each individual person actually does something. Because when I've got like 3 legendary stonecrafters, and I'm like, I can't afford to be making legendary stonecrafters because that's going to fuck up the wealth caps, and they all have to not be doing the actual stonecrafting that they're trained in. They just get to be haulers, I guess, or military, I guess, if I get around to making military.
And it's sad for them because they came there chasing the wealth, presumably with their legendary skills, and you're like, nah,
no. And then you get to see it on their skill list where it's like, oh, this skill is legendary, but it's rusty because they haven't used it for a while. And then that just gets worse. I don't think it ever degrades that actual skill level. It just like turns into rusty, and then like they have to do it for a while to get back up to speed or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of annoying. I don't know. And also, this is just a problem for me because I refuse to play with any kind of mods or whatever. I play actual vanilla Dwarf Fortress, but like it's always just been such a hassle to manage jobs, like assigning people's jobs. Because there's one option you can change in the ini file where you can either have the game automatically assign them based on skills. So if like a legendary stonecrafter comes to your fortress, he will automatically be a stonecrafter.
Right, yeah.
Or you can have it not do that and just have them with blank. So you have to manually go through and assign them. And that's what I have it set to. But that's, then that's a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah.
When you're having like a 25 migrant wave and you're like, okay, I have to wait. Basically, I just find a place on the map that they're walking past where my cursor is, and then like as they come past I just go, okay, now I'm going to look at this person who's under the cursor and look at his skills, and then assign them their jobs, and then they walk away, and then the next person walks past. just go through
Don't move your mouse.
Yeah, just go through the process of assigning all these guys jobs as they enter, and maybe even profession nicknames based on their jobs if it's something different, because a lot of the time you have there'll be like legendary stonecrafter, but then there'll be like adequate miller and adequate potash maker or something. It's like, well, those are the jobs I actually need. I don't want this legendary stonecrafter bit, so I have to make them this instead. But it won't say that unless I type it in manually as their actual job.
Oh, right, I see. You have to...
Because it automatically assigns their named job based on their higher skill.
Right.
So if you're using them for something else, unless you remember, you have to manually give their profession a nickname, essentially.
You're a stonecrafter, but no, you're not.
No.
I'm doing something else right now.
Or if I'm feeling lazy, I just put X for everyone who's not currently doing whatever job they seem to be assigned.
So you know to look.
Normally that's for military, though, because also practically every migrant has military skills as well as, crafting skills. Which is also a bit of a, making it too easy almost. Except usually it's all military skills for stuff you don't have, where it's like, I don't need more swords dwarves, because swords are not that great. You want hammer dwarves, because hammers are ridiculously overpowered in the physics of Dwarf Fortress. Especially silver hammers, because it's based on weight.
Right, not softness of silver.
No, just density.
Bang, bang, Maxwell's silver hammer.
Yep, exactly. You just destroy everything.
I definitely call that guy Maxwell.
Yep. But yeah, apart from that, I've just been refamiliarizing myself with some of the mechanics I haven't played with much, like temples and taverns and guild halls and all that stuff, which doesn't really mean much in the early game. It's just like you assign a little room and then be like, that is a temple to this specific god, and then everyone piles in there and starts praying. Or this is a guild hall for this group of people, and then they go in there and do whatever they do in guild halls. They do, if the miners guild, and it's like, oh look, there's some of the miners are in there, and it's like, you look at them and it's like, oh, they're doing a mining demonstration.
Oh, I see, they're actually doing
they're actually talking about what they're doing.
Yeah, okay.
Which is actually helpful, because I think that does actually increase their skills.
Nice.
Because it's sort of a system that's been used from the military, because in military training there used to be this system that, well, I mean, this is, I think this is where it originated, the training session, where the commander of the unit could call the other ones together and then they could train, and that would actually skill them up. But that's been extrapolated into the guilds as well, so they can share their skills. But then that's also based on there's specific skills for teacher and student.
Right.
So depending on how trained you are in the teacher skill or the student skill depends on how fast the experience transfers between them, essentially.
Oh, I see.
So sometimes, I got a couple of migrants coming to the fortress who were legendary, and I was like, what are you legendary in? Oh, it's not your actual skill, you're a legendary student.
No. So you could learn anything I want you to learn.
Apparently. Maybe. I don't think I've had a legendary poet yet, or musician. Oh, no, actually, I think I do have a legendary musician. I should probably assign him to, like, the tavern or something. He could be the entertainment. But then I'd have to make an instrument. And the instruments are all randomly generated as well and have weird, nonsense word names where it's like, this instrument appears to be a broom handle and a cube of rock or something.
Right.
So like, what even is this thing? It's got strings, maybe.
What were the Vic and Bob characters called? Like, was it Burke and O'Hare or something? Like, where they like every now and then would have like the most random instrument on that thing, like a cheese board with chains attached to something that was clanging.
Yeah.
Move the cheese around.
It's pretty much like that.
I mean, I wish there was like some kind of like in the Steam version when they come to do that bit. I hope they have some sort of randomized synth to go with it.
Actual sound effects.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I mean, maybe, but that's as soon as you get into the classic Dwarf Fortress descriptive text for any of those, like all the poems or the dances, where it tries to like give you a description of what this dance is actually like what are the moves that these people are trying to do? Do you have to stand in a line? Is it a square dance? Who knows? But yeah, that's the traditional ridiculousness of Dwarf Fortress. As soon as you go beyond just the weird graphics, and it's just like, here's a whole bunch of text that you're never going to see or need to care about, but it's there.
The detail of the exact form of these dances.
Yeah.
All generated.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been... Oh, and another thing that happened with migrants, another problem with this system, being that they are real people now. One of the migrants came to my fortress and was just insane, like, from when he spawned.
Right.
Because, I mean, evidently that had happened somewhere else, because they don't exist.
He'd been driven insane.
Yeah, he'd been driven insane somewhere else. Right. So he just came to my fortress insane and then just died. Although I did get free clothes, because insane people just take off all their clothes. So it's like, oh, free clothes. Sweet. Actually, I don't know if when dwarves die, I don't remember if when dwarves die they get to keep their clothes or not. Or I think they just become free. So maybe it wasn't the fact that he was insane, it was just that he died.
The fact he died. Right.
You got the corpse running.
Yes. I think while they're still alive, they still get to keep their clothes even if they're on the floor.
Fair.
Something to bury them in, I guess. Do you bury dwarves?
Well, yeah, you put them in a stone coffin in a stone room, which doesn't sound very hygienic, but that's what you do with dwarves, apparently. It prevents them from stinking up the place.
I didn't know
somehow.
I didn't know if you could, like, if it had a cremation system or something.
Man, that would be easier. I mean, I suppose you could throw them into a volcano if you feel like it. Because I'm pretty sure being melted in... Well, no, actually, I think being melted in lava does actually give you the bad thoughts about it.
The bad thoughts?
Well, you get bad thoughts if a body decays without being buried.
Yeah.
And I think falling into lava counts as being decayed without being buried.
Right.
Even though it's not really the same.
No.
It's harrowing.
Well, it's not even... yeah, I don't know if you have to witness it or not, or whether you just get them. Because some bad thoughts are like you just get them.
Right.
But some you have to actually witness it. Like if you're walking past the dead body on the floor, then you get that bad thought. But right, I think the decay one is just like you just somehow know.
Right, you know that body's rotted or whatever.
You can smell it. The smell is a bad thought.
Well, no, the smell is a separate bad thought.
Okay.
You have actual smell, decay smell from rotting stuff inside. But yeah, that's Dwarf Fortress. Still.
It's a game.
You can play it.
Technically.
But it's been so much of a classic, like getting back into all those menus where I'm just like, I remember all these buttons where I have to push this and this and this and this. DVD.
Muscle memory kicks in.
Is that all going to be in the Steam version then? Or...
Well, I mean, it seems like they're at least trying to make it mouse-driven. I don't know about simplified. Right. It might still be layers and layers of menus upon menus where you just have to click through to a different tree of options, but
you don't have to use the keyboard for everything.
No. Seems like, anyway. I'm sure I'll just use the keyboard anyway in any case, because I remember how to do it with the keyboard.
Yeah. You've trained yourself.
So that's that. The main thing I've been playing for this whole past 3 weeks, I guess, is Avorion.
Oh, yeah.
What's it called?
Avorion.
Avorion.
AVO Rion. I was like, wait.
Avorian. Okay.
Which I believe is the name of a material in the game, like some kind of fancy metal.
Avorian.
Because that's what the endgame ships are going to be made out of, because it's a spaceship building game.
Factorio.
No, more like
Subnautica. Is that in space?
no, it's more like Stormworks, I guess.
Oh.
Except you're building spaceships instead of regular ships.
Huh.
It's one of those style of like small blocks, and you build them into the shape of a thing, and then they have functional blocks that actually do whatever you need it to do. Shield generators and power generators and batteries and guns and all that kind of stuff.
So what, you're in flight already and you're just building as you go, and like it's kind of a roguelike in that?
It's more like a traditional space sim-esque, like, I mean, it's much more like one of the X games, like X3 or whatever.
Right.
Where it's got an economy in different space systems, and you travel around and you're trying to get to the center of the galaxy, but then you're also building the ships out of blocks, essentially. It's not like real time, you're in a build screen. I guess weirdly the build screen is still real time because it's multiplayer, it kind of has to be. So even while you're building, your ship is still actually there in space and can get shot if it's just sitting there for enemies to shoot at, but normally that's not a problem. But yeah, so you build these ships out of blocks and then you fly them around, and then as you get up the tech tree you can build with more blocks and more different fancy kinds of things. Like we've just got to the point of having hangars so we can have like fighters come out.
Oh, cool.
Of the main ship.
Can you I assume you don't get to fly the fighter yourself?
No. Well, I mean, unless you build a ship that is essentially a fighter. But the trouble that I have with it, well, there's two problems. The first problem is the classic problem that Stormworks and probably every other game like this has, which is that you're going to be sitting there designing a ship for like 4 hours before you even actually fly it.
Right.
You've got to go through this whole building process.
It's like Kerbal in that sense.
Well, kind of, except in this case, it's sort of more aesthetic, I suppose.
Right, then, yeah.
Because theoretically, you totally could just build a Borg cube, essentially.
Right.
Just build a cube and have all the functional blocks on the inside, and that'd be it.
Right, yeah.
Because it doesn't really care about physics that much. I mean, it cares about centre of gravity a little bit for, like, thrusters.
That'd be perfect on a cube.
Well, yeah, exactly. Right in the middle. But yeah, so that's kind of the first problem. And the second problem is that this game tends to move very quickly more towards like naval combat, like rather than dogfighting. With like, you're big and slow, you don't maneuver very well, but you have guns.
Strategic fights.
But it's the problem with that is that it's too close range to make that as good as it should be. Like, enemies just come right up on you, and then that kind of ruins the whole point of a broadside or whatever.
Right.
They're just flying around you, and you're just trying to rotate to keep your guns pointing towards them, and it doesn't really function in the way you'd hope it would. Because the guns are all too short range, and the enemies are all too quick. Oh, everyone's all too quick.
Like, yeah, what is the strategy? What is the outwitting?
But I feel like that's where fighter bays are coming in. Like, we're sort of on this weird middle point in between dogfighting and big-ass capital ship style, and I think that's what fighters are sort of bridging the gap at this tier, where it's just like, just build a fighter bay, and then if your guns are in range to shoot, that's all well and good, but just rely on the fighters.
Because I don't know why, but like a bit of me kind of likes the idea maybe of a slow-paced navally style fight, like if there's enough depth to it and enough you can like sink your teeth into strategically, but you probably need to have just more than you, right? You probably need to be part of a team. So that's why I kind of had a vague interest in Dreadnought back in the day. Well, that was the thing, because that actually, if you were playing with a team and it was fun, key point there, game has to kind of actually be fun. I don't know, that could be quite interesting, right? You could just be all like, right, let's execute this strategy because it looks like they're doing this, and so then you've got time to actually do it, and it's not all just twitchy. And I don't know, there's something to that. But you'd have to be quite committed to a game like that, I guess. But
well, yeah, slow pace means you have to commit a lot more. Although it's not like Avorion isn't slow paced for the building.
Sure.
We're still spending many hours with one of us pretty much just sitting there building a thing, and the other one is maybe going around doing stuff, or maybe not. I've got to really build a new ship to catch up. Like, I'm one ship behind at this point,
So are
essentially.
you building them individually and then flying in a group, or are you working on the same ship?
No, you build them individually, and then there is the option, if you really want to have multiple people in the same ship. So one guy can control the guns and one person can fly it, if you really want to.
You can't collaborate in building them.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, unless you just hand off whatever you're doing halfway through, but that's not really the same.
Yeah, so it's possibly some... I mean, what is this? Is early access again? Yeah, so there's possibly some room to improve that then.
Yeah. And then, so... Yeah, I'm like a ship behind, because I don't have a ship with fighter bays yet. I haven't built a carrier, essentially. So I've got an idea of what I'm going to do with that design, which is going to be dumb and weird. Because my main problem is the ship that I built for the previous stage, which is like the semi-fighter style, where I've got some quite long-range guns, but it's still maneuverable enough that I can fly around. I have it... Basically, so far, I've just been stealing designs from Eve. Or not really stealing them, but more like vaguely remembering them and then building something that kind of looks like it.
Right,
and not getting it very close most of the time. But so I built this ship that's just like a regular... Well, it's just like a lump, essentially, and the guns are on top. More or less. But the trouble that I've been having with it is that because of the way the enemies just close in on you, and my guns are like long-ish range... What I've been trying to do is essentially how it works in Eve, which is just kiting them, right? So I'm flying away, shooting my guns backwards at them as I'm flying. But because of the way I designed this ship, the guns are on a forwards-facing slope, so not all of them actually have line of sight backwards. So I was like, oh shit, I fucked this up, haven't I? So for my next ship design, I'm going to do something really stupid, where basically I'm going to have...
A teardrop shape, like...
Well, no, I'm going to have a kind of basically a sort of a C shape where the guns are in the middle so they can shoot forwards and backwards, but not sideways.
Oh, interesting.
So then you're just either barreling towards or away from them.
Yeah, you're either facing them down at the start or just kiting them away, and then like the fighter bay can be on the back side of the C.
Yeah, genius.
That'll probably work. Okay. Probably. It will look real dumb. And who knows? I'm pretty sure engines don't have to be like in line with the centre of gravity or anything. I don't think it worries about that. It's only the thrusters for turning that worry about the centre of gravity.
Right.
So I should be okay to make this weirdly shaped ship with basically a hole through the middle. Actually, I wonder if you probably could do that. Just make a tube. Then all your guns would be on the inside and be protected from enemy fire.
Yeah. And you just shoot down the tube.
Yeah, you shoot out the tube at either end. Pew, pew. Because that's the other...
That's quite funny, actually. I like that.
That is the other thing about the design aspect of this, is that... I mean, obviously armour, to some extent, matters, but not exactly. Like, every block you place just adds to your total hit points. And when you're getting shot, each individual block has a sort of a hidden pool of hit points that before it like breaks off or gets destroyed or whatever. So there is some reason to like protect your actual functional blocks like the generators or whatever and put them inside the armor. But you're probably always going to be losing bits of armor, because if you want to make your ship look nice and you're making a nice curve or whatever, you're using very small pieces which have a very low individual hit points. So those individual bits will get shot off all the time. It does try and compensate for that, like on the like hidden stats or whatever that try and compensate for, well, allowing you to make things look nice without it all exploding constantly. But it doesn't always. And there's certain elements that you just have to expose, and then they always, because they're just weaker in general, they always get shot off, like the thrusters. Because obviously you need the thrusters to have an exposed front to be able to thrust.
Yeah.
But they're kind of a weak block, so they're always getting shot off.
Right.
And torpedo
Can you
tubes.
put them in a hole?
Well, that was the thing. I'm not sure thrusters need, like... I'm not sure it actually detects...
that
there is open space. I think just immediately adjacent to them has to be open. So I think you probably could just leave a hole and just have your thrusters enclosed in a gap.
I mean, could you not put them in your tube design? Could they be halfway down the tube?
They could only thrust inwards, and then somehow that would turn. Yeah, I guess so. The tube might be the superior ship.
I want to see the tube now.
So, talking about spacey stuff for a second, I want to go on a bit of a segue, because Dan and I watched the pilot 2 episodes of TNG last night, just because we noticed it was on Netflix, and it's just, well, I know we already knew it was there, but it was just like, you know what, I've never seen the pilot. And okay, it's ropey as hell.
It's ropey.
But there was a key detail about the holodeck, like following on from our
Holodeck
If you've watched our freelancer videos.
Yeah, we had a discussion about like what actually works in there, and it's like Data has a line where it's like they're talking to Wesley, aren't they? And he's like, this seems so real, and Data's like, actually, a lot of it is real,
right?
And it's like beaming things in or replicating things into the environment. So to answer our question, you could eat holodeck food and not need to have a holo poo,
right?
Like it would be
because Wesley steps out and he's got soaked and he's still wet. Yeah.
I don't know. Moisture feels like the easy option for that, though.
Yeah.
Not like food.
But they do.
I mean, they eat replicated food, so it could just be a giant.
Yeah, but the replicator is a little enclosed area rather than the whole holodeck.
Well, yeah, but no. If you think that, like, because he seemed to make it suggest, like, if that it was a pattern, like the teleporters work. Like, so if they could replicate the items, teleport them into the environment. Using the beams or whatever.
But that seems like that'd be a real hassle because when you're traveling in the holodeck, you aren't actually going anywhere. It's like it's scrolling the scene through this enclosed room, so it's just having constantly to leech it out one side and build shit on the other end.
Sort of. They made it seem to suggest that the wall was somewhere.
Yeah, they walked up to the wall, which was weird.
Yeah.
You'd think it would want to keep you in the middle of the holodeck.
Well, it does let them do that when they're they need the door.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, we need to hit the door button to open the door in the holodeck that we can't actually see, but we know it's there, so we have to be able to walk up to
the arch, as it's so called. Yeah. Oh, it's weird.
So basically, it still doesn't make sense.
I don't think so because and also your pattern goes into the pattern buffer when you transport or whatever. But if they could just store that pattern indefinitely, you could just make indefinite copies of everyone.
You could clone.
Yeah.
But maybe they specifically don't make the pattern buffers so they have enough memory to hold
more than one person.
I thought they were always disintegrating. They're always losing the pattern.
Well, yeah, they're always losing data out of that pattern buffer. Maybe that's why. It's like maybe teleportation is actually kind of more dangerous than they make it appear when they use it all the time. Maybe we won't teleport down today. Maybe it'll be shuttles.
Maybe it's okay to replicate like rocks and stuff because it's like simple or whatever, and it doesn't matter if it's varied. But if you do, you end up with a really messed up person. You try and use a degraded pattern.
Right, yeah. So you can't store it for long, otherwise it degrades, whereas they don't care about everything else. Or maybe there's literally a storeroom, like on the...
Which holds all the props.
Holds all the props.
They just replicate.
That would be a bit much.
That would be dumb.
Just the holo store.
That would kind of restrict what programs you could run.
Absolutely.
Than what they had in stock.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that was my segue.
Anyway, so
Avorion.
Avorion.
And then the other part of it, which we've only really just got started in as well, is just like how I compared it to X3. It has an economy, and you can build space stations and have them produce different, goods and build a production chain and all that stuff. Claim a system. We've only just started doing that. Although, again, if you want, you can spend however many hours designing space stations as well as spaceships. or luckily, in this case, it's just use the generic NPC models. Except they're all, it's all procedurally generated. So it's just like, if you pick, say, a farm, and it has, it looks like it's got little enclosed greenhouse fields or whatever, and they're just spread out around this station design. But then when you're spawning that station in, there's sliders to basically scale it, which affects, its production rate or whatever, and how much it costs to build. But then it also affects the actual design because it's all procedural.
Right.
And
so
it's also got like a seed as well, in case you want to just reseed it.
Reuse it, yeah.
Oh, nice.
At the same scale. So you can just make them as big or small as you want. And it actually also does the same thing with ships. I mean, obviously all the NPC ships are procedurally generated, as they would be. But with your ship, there's also an option in the build screen where you can just scale it. So if you've made a ship design...
that you like, but you want a different size.
Yeah, that you like, but doesn't have enough power or health, you can basically just scale it up and just make it just bigger.
Just buy that. Yeah.
Which is kind of nice. But kind of also, like, you kind of feel weird doing that. Where you build a fighter, and it's like, well, this fighter is being outclassed now, but I can't be bothered to make a new ship, so I'll just make it really big. It's like that's not quite how that was meant to work.
Can you like finesse it after you've scaled it up, or can you go in and edit it?
Well, that is kind of one of the other problems with its editor at the moment. Is it's one of the things that I feel like it's definitely missing compared to, say, Stormworks, is it doesn't have like a cutaway. Right. Well, it kind of tries to, but it doesn't. Because in Stormworks, it has like a literal plane that you can just be like, make all the blocks above or below this plane invisible. So you can just see, and then you can just edit stuff that way. But Avorion doesn't have that. It has a visibility toggle where it's like you can choose which kind of blocks are visible.
So you have to.
So if you've got this kind of block, so the sort of trick of designing a ship without necessarily having to know exactly what you're going to end up with from the start is make a internal framework out of literal framework blocks that are like, you know, basically free and really don't contribute anything to the overall hit points or whatever. You build a framework shape, you build the hull around the outside, and then you use the visibility thing to only show the framework, and then you strategically pick blocks out of the framework to replace with the actual functional blocks later.
Oh, okay.
But that only works once, of course, because then once you've done that,
then they're there.
They're there, and you have to be like, oh, well, I guess I can swap out some of my generators for shields instead. If I show only the generator blocks, I can pick them and then swap them for shield blocks. But you're just swapping bits backwards and forth. You don't really have very precise... Because you can't... Because that's the problem, it is a swap. So if you've made, say, like a 4x4 block on the inside of your ship, you can't go in there, delete that, and then replace it with two 2x4s. Because you can't see that place
to replace
it.
Yeah.
You can only directly swap it for another 4x4. So it's a little bit limiting. It does have some ability to do it, but I'd much prefer just to have a straight cutaway option.
Sure.
Like in Stormworks,
Yeah. We can see that.
So yeah, that's Avorion. And yeah,
You kind of want to be able to pilot in two cutaways at the same time, right? Like a top plane and a bottom plane, and then left and right, so you can really isolate the room.
Yeah, I mean, normally one direction is enough for that kind of thing, providing it, you know, does a proper cutaway where it only hides blocks once they're fully below the plane or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
It's usually good enough to get through the outer hull in the Stormworks editor. So yeah, we've been trundling around getting into that space.
Into that space.
Getting to the point where we're starting to build up a fleet almost, except not really. Because it's weird, you can have ships follow you, and the AI is reasonably competent. Like if you set one of your ships to patrol a sector, if you, for example, to guard your space stations, they're reasonably good at fighting off the random pirate swarms, assuming they're in an appropriately powerful ship. But like, at the moment, our fleet is basically all just individually doing stuff. There's like the ships that we're flying, and then like here's the mining ship, and that's off, and that's somewhere mining, and here's the salvaging ship, and that's somewhere salvaging, and here's the trading ship, and that's somewhere doing a trade route. And it's kind of weird because the system. There's just recently been an update that introduced a new system to do what they call operations, where if you have a captain, an NPC captain on the ship, you can basically just command them from the map, pick an area, and they'll go and do whatever they're doing. So you can say mine, and then you select an area of the map, and then depending on like how many asteroid fields there are in that area that you've discovered, that will change the output of the mining operation. But it's like, it's a sort of semi-hidden operation. Like, the ships do still appear, like you can find them, like you could fly to the system and see that ship there doing some mining, but it doesn't really exist. It's like it's calculating the numbers, but it's not literally flying the ship from asteroid to asteroid and mining unless you're there looking at it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time when you're sending them off on those missions, it's just like, I'm going to destroy everything. When you're sending them off on those missions, it's basically like they just cease to exist, essentially. You don't see them. But then the old version of this system, you can, if you're in the same system, you can be like, okay, mining ship, mine all the asteroids in this system, and it'll actually go and do it. But the weird thing about that is it gives you totally different results.
Okay.
Well, not totally different. It's like mining the asteroids in the system is much more valuable. Like, you get more resources but it's literally the resources in the system. Whereas within the area mining command, it's like the sort of the average of what you should get of that part of space. It doesn't necessarily rely on that actually being asteroids there
in the system, right?
Oh, right.
So it's like basically the operations version of the orders is like the get stuff for free button.
Right.
You're not actually having to worry about whether that area is mined out or whatever, because it doesn't actually matter. Well, I mean, it probably does if it's actually mined out. Essentially, the operations don't consume the materials, so you can keep remining the same area over and over, essentially, as far as I can tell. Maybe we just haven't played long enough that it's actually got to the point where it's degraded them. So that's Avorion. I played quite a lot of it.
Avorion. Is it Avorion or Avorium?
Avorion.
Avorion.
And an N.
Yes, and an N. And an I.
Avorion.
And an A. And a V. All the letters that make up the word.
Avorion.
Cool. Is that you then, Zeg?
Yep.
Wow.
Little aside. Something I forgot that I just want to mention, just because it's super cool still. I ended up playing a bit of F-Zero GX on Dolphin again. Because why not? Like I checked in with Dolphin basically, just to see what's up with this. And they've done a few little updates, and I don't think it really changed too much because F-Zero GX still runs absolutely perfectly in 1440p.
Lovely.
And it's a fantastic game. I ended up playing quite a bit of it. So I was like, I'll just have a quick blast on this. A couple hours later, I'm still going.
You got boost power.
You've got boost power. It did take me a little while to figure out that, like, I was like, I don't remember the cornering being quite so restricted as this. Maybe I've just picked a bad craft, so I picked a different craft, and it's like, I don't know, I'm still not turning very well. And it's like, I went into the Dolphin settings and calibrated my controller because I'm still using that PS3 controller right now to play stuff on my PC, and it's like, no, this all looks good, and it's like, and then it digged around in the options for F-Zero itself. It has its own controller calibration that I didn't realize, and it's like for a GameCube game, that's kind of weird, or a console game in general.
Yeah, that is weird.
That's pretty odd. And so something in that was wrong. So I recalibrated it to the, I guess so it matched what Dolphin was actually kicking out, and then everything was fine. And I'm not as good as that game as I once was, not by a long shot.
Not anymore.
No, I'm struggling to do. I've cleared everything in expert difficulty, but I can't do it in master. And you need to do things in master to unlock the extra set of tracks, the secret AX Cup. Which is the levels from the arcade game.
Oh, sweet.
So it's I haven't earned those yet. Got work to put in. Got to put in work on my PC save.
Sweet.
But man, it's such a good game. I mean, it's so good.
Imagine if they did put that on Switch.
I mean, yeah, you could probably quite easily re-release it with like no changes, like none at all. Just put it out again, and it would be fine. Like really, like it stands up. It's like you might
widescreen now.
Yeah, it has widescreen support, so it's like just built in, like it always did. I guess it was relatively late in the GameCube cycle,
right,
when more games actually started including that as an option. But yeah, it's like, so I did that thing where like I went through like its like library thing where you can just go look at all the craft and stuff, and was pleasantly reminded that they put the effort in to make every single pilot have a theme song that only plays in that part of the game. Like it doesn't even play like when you complete like the a season or like complete a GP. Like it doesn't play like your character's theme song as the winning theme, which it probably should. That would probably have been a smart idea. But no, tucked away in this menu, like there's just, you can go listen to every single pilot's theme, and a lot of them are really great. It's like a surprising portion of them are decent, and like not just like little throwaway things either. They're not like a couple of seconds. Some of these are like 2-minute long
themes,
actual songs, and it's like, this game is ridiculous. it's a hell of a thing. I still haven't unlocked the last chapter of the story, the sort of Phantom Road part. I've done everything else in the story mode, which holds up way less than I remember.
Right, yeah.
And you haven't even got the Racing God yet. Not quite.
Not quite. I mean, I think that's the next one.
Yeah, that is the Phantom Road stuff.
What's he called? Death Lord or something. After he just turns the Black Falcon or whatever he is, the enemy Falcon, into just nothing.
Yep.
And then nobody reacts to the death of this guy in the middle of by some kind of evil devil guy in the middle of the racetrack, and like Captain Falcon just very casually looks at him and goes, "Who are you?" Nobody cares about this death that just happened. F-Zero GX. Come back, F-Zero, we miss you.
One day. Goyo.
I wonder if it's one of those things that like could be modded. Like if someone if a community cared enough, could they mod just put more F-Zero in? It'll be fine.
More tracks.
Just make more tracks. Yeah.
To have the F-Zero X track editor thing.
Oh, it didn't have an editor in X. It had a generator.
Generator, that's what I meant.
The X Cup, yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't have that.
No.
I think they made a track editor for the 64DD version of F-Zero, which only came out in Japan. But there was a track editor in that one. So I've never actually tried. Never actually gone and had a look at that. That might be something to do.
Break out the 64DD version of F-Zero X.
Yeah. Hey, Dolphin's real good. Because I was sort of vaguely looking into that, because it's like I was thinking maybe I should get hold of Cemu and start having a little look at Switch emulation, and then sort of had that slight pang of guilt about it, because Switch is a real console, and it's like and it's like I could still buy a copy of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity and then just play the emulated version.
That's true.
To get the frame rate you want.
Right, because it's
shonky on the Switch. But until Super Switch comes along.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be on the horizon, this Super Switch.
That was my addendum.
Cool. Well, I've just been playing Breath of the Wild.
Woo!
Yeah, it's really good. I think we talked enough about that over the years, but yeah, what a great game. And that was the main thing. Played a bit more Dirt Rally, and
how are you finding Dirt Rally 2?
Yeah, I'm still
on the controller.
No, I played Dirt Rally on the controller on the PC, actually. Right. Yeah, so I was kind of used to it, and yeah, it works fine on the PlayStation, but it's not like I'm that good at Dirt Rally. I'm okay. But no, probably not as good as you guys with your wheels.
Oh, I was never that good at Dirt Rally. Actually, it's a hard game.
It definitely seems like you I don't know. I'm definitely behind on a stage, and then like relying on the random guy crashing or whatever,
right?
And then winning the championship.
Just be consistent.
Yeah, exactly. That seems to do it.
I always had the problem where either something very random happened, and the physics would go like, I'd be like, what the hell just happened? Or there'd be like one corner on every track that would catch me out every single bloody time.
Yeah. There's just the one corner, which is like 4/5 of the way through the stage. Yeah. Is
either miss pace noted and I just didn't remember, or is I'm sure there was like certain corners in that game where the physics suddenly felt different. Like, and I know that's kind of a thing about ground and stuff like that, but like there'd be like certain turns, especially they were like looks like they were the same sort of steepness, but for some reason would be way less grippy, and you'd suddenly be like, okay. I'm now drifting to my doom. I'm not quite sure why, and I'd forget that it's that turn that was problematic. And
yeah, so I remember one stupid thing in Breath of the Wild is that I forgot that the way the buttons are labeled on the Switch is the bumper is like L, the left bumper is L, and the trigger is like ZL.
Yeah.
So when I wanted to like capture the like the fancy horse or whatever, you have to like
Mash L.
You have to mash L, but I was mashing the wrong buttons. I was like, why can't I? I was like, I kept eating more and more food to get more and more stamina, and like no matter how much I had, I couldn't calm the stupid horse. I realized I was mashing completely the wrong button. That took me a while because you can get the fancy horse as a side quest, but also there's a shrine quest where you have to ride a deer.
Yep.
Or whatever, and I just forgot had the wrong calm button because for some reason I thought, what is it on the GameCube?
On the GameCube, Z is effectively the bumper.
Yeah.
Above
right.
R.
Oh yeah. I think that's anyway.
So they swapped them at some point. Yeah.
And I just forgot, and so that
when I was setting up Dolphin for that PlayStation, I forgot which way round Y and X were
right.
on the GameCube controller because they're the right way round on the GameCube controller. The Y is at the top.
Switch,
yeah, and then they did the traditional layout is Y on the right and X on top.
Yeah. Yep, I'm always forgetting the buttons, but yeah, that's all working.
Because I was like, why can't I attack anyone? Oh right, because I've mapped break to the attack button.
Yeah.
Accidentally.
Right, I think that's going to be me. There's going to be a cast just about on time.
On a podcast.
In-person podcast. Thank you for joining us. Check out our YouTube channel where we have a bunch of freelancer at the moment.
Bunch of it.
And just one or two other videos.
And one or two other videos.
We've sprinkled in some Jet Set Radio just to...
Yeah. So if you're excited about Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, check out the original Jet Set Radio with our commentary. Let's see what you think. We think.
Check out Rob's memory.
Yeah. See how badly we remember it.
Oh no,
that's not what the problem was.
That was not the problem.
Yeah,
my short term is problematic. It seems.
Yeah. Well, if you want to see us slowly go insane, check out our YouTube channel. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks for another Saladcast. Yay! Bye.